4161, 4161. Chapter 4161, It's Better If You Don't Know. The Lord of Time had long prepared his escape route, believing it to be flawless. The small world was detached from the river of time. Once he escaped into it, even those who wielded the Tao of Time couldn't find him. Even if an Yuan intervened, at most she could sense he was in another layer of space-time, but not pinpoint his exact location. Unfortunately, he never accounted for a freak like Lin Moyu, nor for the existence of such a heaven-defying artifact in Lin Moyu's possession. Lin Moyu looked at the Spirit of Time. Remember your promise. The Spirit of Time replied, I always keep my word. Lin Moyu chuckled, that's for the best. He gathered his power, reaching the peak of half-step transcendence, and struck the small world located by the Seeking Cause ring with a palm. Under the great Tao world-ending palm, a massive imprint shattered space-time, appearing over that small world. There were no living beings inside. The world wasn't fully formed, only the remnant soul of the Lord of Time hiding within. The small world was destroyed under the palm, and the Lord of Time's remnant soul perished with it. In an instant, heaven and earth thundered, and the origin land echoed with a peal of thunder. Suddenly, a sense of sadness arose in the hearts of all. This feeling spread quickly along every Tao, rippling outward. In every world, including the void realm, every living being regardless of intelligence felt sorrow. The grief was so intense that many weaker beings died from it. An eternal had fallen, something that had never happened before. Lin Moyu murmured, that's quite a commotion. The candle dragon snorted, this is just the fall of an eternal. If you destroy the cursed Tao, it'll be much bigger. Lin Moyu looked unconcerned. Good, I'd like to see what happens to the world. The candle dragon knew he couldn't persuade Lin Moyu and said calmly, as long as you don't regret it. Lin Moyu replied, that depends. If I ever do regret it, I'll make sure this realm survives. He wasn't bluffing. If something happened to his loved ones, he'd go all the way, dragging the entire realm down with him if needed. The candle dragon stared at Lin Moyu for a long moment, then muttered, you really are a madman. Lin Moyu just smiled, unconcerned with others' opinions so long as his conscience was clear. The sadness lingered for a long time. Most beings didn't know what had happened or why they were sad, only that their hearts ached. Only a few Tao lords vaguely sensed something, but couldn't be sure. The human emperor and others' faces changed drastically. They knew what had happened. The Lord of Power put down his wine, voice low. The Lord of Time has fallen. The other Eternals were also grave. This event showed them that even Eternals could fall, overturning their understanding. The human emperor sensed carefully. The Tao of Time still exists. How could the Lord of Time fall? All the Eternals present were puzzled. In their understanding, an Eternal could only fall if their Tao was shattered. The same was true for many Tao lords. As long as their Tao remained, they could not truly perish. But now, the Tao of Time was intact, yet the Lord of Time had fallen. It was perplexing. Their worldview was shattered twice in one day. As beings who had lived countless years and stood at the peak of existence, it was hard to accept. Old Yin had mused, the cause must be in the origin land. There was a disturbance there earlier. We tried to go but were stopped by the candle dragon, who sealed the origin land. Then the Lord of Time fell, must be related to the candle dragon. The Lord of Power said, impossible. The candle dragon wouldn't do that. He's a manager, not an enemy. The human emperor said, earlier, I sensed Taoist Lin enter the origin land. Could it have been him? Old Yin had said, no need to guess. The origin land can't stay sealed forever. When we see Taoist Lin, we'll just ask him. The human emperor agreed, that's all we can do. Despite being Eternals, they were anxious in the face of the unknown, no different from ordinary people. They didn't know what had happened in the origin land, nor if the Lord of Time's fall would affect their own Taos. All they could do was wait. Inside the origin land, the Spirit of Time finally took control of the entire Tao of Time. The river of time descended, merging with the Tao of Time, countless streams flowing into it. The two were always interdependent, and now their union was seamless. The Tao of Time became the earth, the river of time the sky. They formed an independent world. The Spirit of Time now controlled both, fusing their powers through himself. His aura rose rapidly, undergoing a qualitative change. The aura of eternity spread through the origin land, along the Tao of Time, radiating in all directions. Wherever they were, all cultivators of the Tao of Time who had reached the Tao realm sensed the Spirit of Time's presence. Within the Tao of Time, he was supreme. Faith, The spirit of time shouted, his voice echoing in the souls of all Tao of Time cultivators. Instantly, a torrent of faith surged into him, giving him the final boost to step into eternity. He grew stronger, the aura of eternity thickened, and at last, he became the new Lord of Time. He didn't need to knock on the gate of eternity, nor did he make a big scene. He simply became eternal, mastering both the river and the Tao of Time, surpassing all previous Lords of Time. The human emperor and others were shocked. The Lord of Time had just fallen, and now a new one had appeared. Their curiosity about what had happened in the origin land grew even stronger. The spirit of time bowed to Lin Moyu. "Thank you for your help. I will never break my word. Call on me whenever you need." Lin Moyu smiled. "All right." The spirit of time bowed to the candle dragon, then vanished into the river of time. The candle dragon asked, "What do you want him to do for you?" Lin Moyu replied, "Many things are hidden in the river of time. Some have been erased, but the spirit of time is clever. He remembered them in advance." The candle dragon frowned. "What exactly?" Lin Moyu shook his head. "It's better if you don't know. The karma is too great. It could affect your transcendence." The candle dragon was startled, realizing something, and stopped asking. Lin Moyu said, "All right, that matter's settled. Now it's time for mine." 4162, 4162. Chapter 4162, I think it's not worth it. The power of death continued to erode the cursed Tao, and by now, a tenth of it had been worn away. The cursed Tao was much stronger than the light Tao that Lin Moyu had previously shattered, and as the process went on, the rate of erosion slowed. After a tenth had been consumed, the speed was only half of what it was at the start. If things continued at this pace, it would only get slower, likely taking several centuries or even 1,000 years. Although Lin Moyu had patience, he didn't want to waste so much time. He had already thought of other methods. With a thought, he unleashed an even greater surge of soul power, widening the soul channel. Candle Dragon frowned. "What are you trying to do?" Lin Moyu replied casually, "Speed things up a bit. It's too slow right now." The soul channel expanded greatly. With a tap of his finger, a crimson light shot from Lin Moyu's fingertip and landed on the cursed Tao. The crimson light transformed into a hell of bones, crashing down as countless hellish fiends swarmed the cursed Tao, gnawing at it madly. The power of death could corrode anything, while the hellish fiends could devour anything. Their effects were similar, but not the same. What was corroded by the power of death would eventually become nothingness. What was devoured by the hellish fiends would become their own power. The hellish fiends had once devoured a Tao, but it was only a shadow, not the actual Tao. They had gained some benefit from that, but now they were devouring a real, powerful origin Tao that had entered the origin land. If they could devour it, the hell of bones would become much stronger. The only question was whether they could actually bite through it. 50 million hellish fiends gnawed at the cursed Tao, their sharp teeth scraping against it with an unpleasant screech. To Lin Moyu, it was like beautiful music. Under their relentless assault, tiny cracks appeared on the cursed Tao, fragments breaking off and being devoured by the fiends. It was a gluttonous feast for them. Candle Dragon squinted. "Your technique is very strange." Lin Moyu said, "Doesn't matter if it's strange, as long as it's strong enough." Candle Dragon remarked, "If they get any stronger, I think they could even devour a realm." Lin Moyu replied, "Shouldn't be a problem. If I get the chance, I'll let them try a realm." Candle Dragon's words were something Lin Moyu had already anticipated. As long as the hell of bones kept growing, maybe one day it really could devour a realm. For now, they could already consume entire worlds, so eating a realm in the future seemed only natural. With the help of the hellish fiends, the cursed Tao's rate of collapse sped up, more than doubling. At this rate, it would take just 100 or 200 years. Still, Lin Moyu wasn't satisfied. He knew the speed was already fast, but he wondered if he could make it even faster. Unknowingly, he had begun treating the cursed Tao as his experiment. To further accelerate the process, the best way was to strengthen the immortal Tao. If the power of death grew, so would the rate of erosion. Alternatively, strengthening the hell of bones would help too, but that was not easy. It required the cooperation of the Great Thousand World and many external factors. Now that the hell of bones was devouring the cursed Tao, it was growing stronger, and the power it absorbed was also flowing into the Great Thousand World, making it stronger as well. This was a mutually reinforcing cycle, but the speed was slow and required time. After some thought, Lin Moyu decided to focus on the immortal Tao. He had two paths to take for his final step, both rooted in the immortal Tao, so strengthening it would also help him reach that last step. Since he'd have to walk this path eventually, he might as well use this perfect test subject now. Becoming eternal and mastering an entire Tao was not the end. The final step lay before every eternal, a path they all wanted to take, but feared to tread. Lin Moyu already knew how to make a Tao stronger and how to gain a deeper understanding of it. The answer came from the soulless beast. The soulless beast purified a filth pool, the beast emperor restored it, the soulless beast purified it again, and so on. The pool changed several times. The principle was to leap from one extreme to another, then back again. Each time the limit was surpassed, one became stronger. Surpassing limits was difficult, and when power changed qualitatively, it could become uncontrollable. With luck, one could achieve a breakthrough, not just growing stronger but also changing in nature. This was the principle of extremes meet. But if control was lost during the qualitative change, it could be disastrous. At best, one would be gravely injured and need to sleep for tens of thousands of years. At worst, one could fall into dormancy. Moreover, surpassing limits wasn't something one could just do at will. Eternals had to make many preparations. That's why the Lord of Curses had entered the great wilderness's core, seeking the filthiest power to help himself surpass his limits, but he failed from the start. What was so difficult for others was much simpler for Lin Moyu. He had encountered the principle of extremes meet early in his cultivation, so it wasn't hard for him. The immortal Tao naturally possessed two opposite powers, letting him control his strength even when surpassing limits. But this also brought trouble. He needed to push both life and death powers to their limits and have them surpass the limit together to maintain balance and stability. With a thought, Lin Moyu withdrew the power of death, leaving only the hellish fiends to gnaw at the Tao. Candle Dragon asked, giving up. Lin Moyu shook his head. Just looking for a better way. I don't want to waste so much time. Candle Dragon said, a few hundred years isn't long. Lin Moyu shook his head. To waste a few hundred years on something so minor, I think it's not worth it. Destroying a Tao is a minor thing. Candle Dragon snorted. You're really something. Lin Moyu replied, you've lived too long. Time means nothing to you. But it's different for me. He hadn't lived that long, so a few hundred years was a big deal. Candle Dragon said no more, letting Lin Moyu do as he pleased. Either way, the cursed Tao was doomed. It was just a matter of sooner or later. Lin Moyu withdrew the power of death and began mobilizing both life and death forces from the immortal Tao. He compressed both powers, making them stronger and stronger. Two vortices appeared in the immortal Tao, one filled with life force, the other with death. Each vortex gathered a vast amount of Tao power, and at their centers, all the power was compressed into two crystals. One was white, containing pure life force. The other was gray, filled with death. The crystals grew until they were the size of fists, then stopped. The power in either crystal was enough to destroy a world. If the death crystal were thrown into the origin continent, it would die in an instant. World dead, all beings extinct. Even the life crystal would be the same. Too much life force is toxic, and the world would collapse under it. 4163. 4163. Chapter 4163. Are you trying to ascend? Zulong stared fixedly at the two vortices within the undying great Tao, gritting his teeth and speaking in a low voice. What are you trying to do? He had a feeling that if the two crystals Lin Moyu was gathering exploded, the entire origin land would suffer. Although the various great Taos themselves wouldn't be affected, as the administrator under the rules, he would inevitably be caught in the crossfire and suffer the punishment of heaven and earth. Of course, he could withstand such punishment, but there was no need who would want to get beaten up for no reason, especially for someone else's mistake. Lin Moyu said, don't be nervous, I know what I'm doing. Zulong snapped, you're a madman. What do you mean you know what you're doing? Lin Moyu chuckled, this madman can help you transcend, so bear with it. That one sentence left Zulong speechless. Since he needed something from Lin Moyu, he could only swallow his anger. He thought to himself, when I transcend, I'll make you pay. Suddenly, Lin Moyu said, and don't think about getting back at me after you transcend. Chaos isn't a friendly place, and the first one you'll have to deal with is the Soul Devourer, not me. Zulong's pupils shrank abruptly. Lin Moyu was right. Once he completed his transcendence, the first thing he'd face would be the Soul Devourer. Only after overcoming the Soul Devourer could he truly complete his transcendence and enter chaos. But he didn't know much about what awaited in chaos. Zulong looked at Lin Moyu. Do you know what's in chaos? Lin Moyu shook his head. Of course not, I've never been there. But I know it's not peaceful. Just look at the dead end, the chaotic beings that occasionally come and none of them are easy to deal with. When you go, you'll have to fight, and fight a lot. So you'd better save your strength for then. Zulong felt Lin Moyu's words made sense, but also sensed he was hiding something. After a moment's thought, Zulong asked quietly, "Are you sure I can transcend?" Lin Moyu replied, "I have a good idea of the path you're taking. I'd say you have an 80% chance of succeeding. Your path is different from ours, and it really does suit you." Zulong's chosen path was to condense filth, form the power of filth, and use this fundamental force of the world to transcend. He didn't need to surpass the great Tao, since he didn't possess one himself, he just needed enough power to complete transcendence. With Lin Moyu's words, Zulong felt confident about his path. But then he wondered why did he trust Lin Moyu so much. Zulong had studied Lin Moyu's history and found that whatever Lin Moyu did or said almost always came true. So, subconsciously, he believed Lin Moyu must be right. Shaking off these messy thoughts, Zulong tried to maintain his lofty demeanor, but the next moment his eyes narrowed in tension. Lin Moyu was actually moving the two vortices closer together. The vortices held entirely different powers, and if they collided, they could explode. Not to mention the two crystals at their centers concentrated essences of life and death. Zulong sweated for the whole origin land. If this blew up, most of it would probably be destroyed. Yet Lin Moyu was still calm. "Don't worry, I've done this before." He really had, and more than once, so Lin Moyu wasn't worried at all. But no matter what he said, Zulong couldn't help but be nervous. The two vortices slowly approached and finally touched. Boom! The undying great Tao shook violently, and even the origin land trembled. Zulong instinctively thought it was about to explode, but it didn't. The two vortices actually fused together. Seeing Lin Moyu's composed expression, Zulong realized he'd been too nervous. After all, he'd lived since the dawn of the world, he shouldn't be so easily rattled. Lin Moyu didn't care what Zulong was thinking, he was fully focused on controlling the two vortices. The collision was only the first step. The real challenge was with the two crystals compressed to the extreme. When the power of the great Tao is compressed to the limit, you can't make the leap alone, you need some external force as a catalyst. The advantage of the undying great Tao was that it inherently possessed both types of power, so each could serve as the other's catalyst. The two crystals, compressed to the extreme, drew closer and finally collided. Thunderous booms echoed from the undying great Tao, shaking the entire origin land and even the origin ancestral land. Zulong forced himself to watch. After the collision, the power within the two crystals erupted and began to change. The power of life turned into the power of death, and the power of death transformed into the power of life, affecting the vortices and, in turn, the entire undying great Tao. The once distinct powers of life and death swapped places, completing the transformation. In the process, the undying great Tao grew stronger, both life and death powers increased by over 30%. He actually did it. Zulong found it hard to believe. He understood the principle, but didn't think Lin Moyu could succeed so easily. Other Eternals had chased this for countless years, and Lin Moyu just did it like that. It was unbelievable. But then again, wasn't success a good thing? If he'd failed, the origin land would have blown up. Zulong felt conflicted. He'd never had so many thoughts in one day. With one reversal, the powers of life and death leapt from one extreme to the other, strengthening by more than 30%. But Lin Moyu didn't think it was enough. Zulong said quietly, "You succeeded, now you can keep grinding away, you're doing it again." His words cut off in a strangled cry. Lin Moyu was gathering great Tao power again, forming two new vortices. Lin Moyu said, "Once isn't enough. Only 30% stronger. I think I can do this a few more times." Zulong replied, "A few more times? Are you trying to ascend to the heavens?" Lin Moyu chuckled, "Relax, I know what I'm doing." "Know what you're doing, my foot," Zulong thought. Other Eternals couldn't even cross the extreme once, and Lin Moyu did it easily and wanted to keep going. Zulong even had the wild idea that Lin Moyu might be trying to take his final step and transcend right here. He blurted out, "Are you trying to take the final step?" Lin Moyu said, "It's not that easy. Right now, I'm just trying to grind down the cursed great Tao and kill that guy. The final step is still far off." Zulong had given up trying to reason with Lin Moyu. Do whatever you want, but remember what you promised me. If you really do take the final step, you have to finish my business first. Lin Moyu replied seriously, don't worry, I always keep my word. Zulong suddenly said, and what about what you promised the Sword Emperor to kill Tun Yuan? Did you do it? 4164, 4164. Chapter 4164, if you're tired, why not rest? Back when he promised the Sword Emperor to kill Tun Yuan, Lin Moyu hadn't actually made a move. Now Tun Yuan had already gone with the Spirit Demon clan to the chaos, so even if he wanted to kill him, he couldn't. But Lin Moyu had left himself an out. I never said when I'd do it. Zulong snorted dismissively, clearly looking down on Lin Moyu's approach. Lin Moyu had essentially tricked the Sword Emperor, though the Sword Emperor didn't know it yet. But Lin Moyu was thick-skinned. If I see Tun Yuan again, I'll fulfill my promise. I always keep my word. Zulong snorted again, even more disdainful, but couldn't break through Lin Moyu's shamelessness, so Lin Moyu just ignored him. Two more vortices formed, and at their centers, two crystals containing astonishing powers slowly emerged. The powers of life and death were compressed to the limit by Lin Moyu, even stronger than before. Zulong tensed up again. If this attempt exploded, the origin land wouldn't just be half destroyed, but completely shattered. The rules of the world would then bring down heavy punishment, and both he and Lin Moyu would suffer. They wouldn't die, but injury was inevitable. Be careful. Zulong's voice grew lower, unable to hide his worry. He clearly didn't want to say it, but couldn't help himself. He had to be concerned. If he was injured, it could affect his transcendence. Lin Moyu, on the other hand, wouldn't be in trouble if he died, he'd just revive. So Lin Moyu could act recklessly, but Zulong couldn't. Lin Moyu saw through his thoughts and joked, worried this will affect your transcendence? Zulong insisted, why would I worry? I'm the manager of the rules won't harm me. Lin Moyu laughed, then you really don't need to worry. At worst, I die, but I'm not afraid of death. Zulong snorted, still, be careful. If the origin land is damaged, it won't be easy to repair, and the whole realm will be thrown into chaos, affecting countless worlds and beings. I know, this realm really is troublesome, just missing a true master, Lin Moyu muttered. Zulong's eyes narrowed, immediately guessing Lin Moyu's ultimate goal was to become the master of the realm. Becoming the realm's master was no easy task, and Zulong instinctively thought Lin Moyu was being unrealistic. But recalling Lin Moyu's experiences, it seemed possible. Still, it wasn't his concern, his path was different. Boom! The two vortices of life and death collided again, shaking space and making the origin land tremble. The vortices successfully merged, marking a preliminary success, followed by the collision of the two Dao crystals. Each crystal contained terrifying Dao power, compressed to the utmost Lin Moyu's current limit. Only by reaching his own limit could he hope to cross extremes, so he went all out, leaving no way back. Zulong fell silent, seeing Lin Moyu had used all his strength to control the two crystals. He even thought Lin Moyu seemed a bit nervous. The tension grew as the crystals slowly drew closer and finally touched. Boom! The origin land shook violently, the immense power breaking through its seal and spreading outward. All Eternals and Dao Lords in the origin ancestral land felt the surge. Zulong, tense, stared at Lin Moyu, who was equally focused on the crystals before him. He used his strength to keep the crystals stable. Life and death, two opposite forces. If they clashed, the resulting power would be unimaginable. What Lin Moyu needed was power infinitely close to the limit. Only by reaching the limit could he hope to surpass it and reach the other extreme. The undying Dao split into life and death, constantly channeling power into the crystals, replenishing what was consumed and keeping them at peak strength. After 10 seconds of stalemate, the crystals changed. A hint of white appeared on the gray death crystal, a faint gray covered the white life crystal. Their natures began to shift, not from outside, but from within. During the collision, their power collapsed inward, compressing the Dao power even further. This compression broke the limit, and using each other as a catalyst, they moved toward the opposite extreme. Zulong saw this and whispered, "It worked." Lin Moyu echoed, "It worked." The two crystals rapidly changed nature. Life became death, death became life, their auras swelling to nearly double what they were before. Every time an extreme was crossed, the power increased significantly, each crossing building on the last. Lin Moyu sensed that after two crossings, the power of the undying Dao had surpassed any other Dao in the 5 world realms, more than double what it was when he first achieved eternity. Zulong asked, are you going to keep going? Lin Moyu shook his head. This is my limit. If I want to go further, it'll depend on my luck. Zulong said, all right, finish up so I can go rest. Lin Moyu nodded, sending out dense death power along the soul channel to the cursed Dao. The death power ignored the cursed Dao's defenses, splitting into countless ant-sized avatars that gnawed at the cursed Dao like hellish fiends. Though tiny, their teeth were unbreakable, biting through anything. In no time, the cursed Dao had a gap, and its Dao power was being devoured, much like the hellish fiend's effect. Lin Moyu calculated that at this rate, it would take about 10 years to finish. 10 years was a lot, but acceptable. Zulong, seeing Lin Moyu stop, joked, why not keep going? If you compress more, you'll devour it faster. Lin Moyu shook his head, it's not that I don't want to, but I can't. Compressing to this level is my limit anymore and I'd collapse. Zulong heard the fatigue in Lin Moyu's voice. If you're tired, why not rest? Lin Moyu thought of his wives. Sometimes it's not that I don't want to rest, but someone keeps pushing you forward. 4165, 4165. Chapter 4165, Do Not Be My Enemy. There was a hint of helplessness in Lin Moyu's words. He was simply stating the truth. Ever since he met the man in the green robe, ever since his wife was taken away, Lin Moyu had been unable to stop. He could only keep moving forward, breaking through obstacles step by step, climbing ever higher. Now, he had become eternal, standing at the pinnacle of the realms, just one step away from transcendence. The man in the green robe, once unimaginably distant, was now within Lin Moyu's faint sight. That man was a supreme of heaven and earth, an invincible being in the chaos, a level even higher than a transcendent. When Lin Moyu realized the man in the green robe was a supreme, he felt a subtle sense of relief. The unknown is always the most terrifying and hopeless. Now that he knew the man's realm, he knew the distance between them. As long as he could see him, he could catch up. Because of one sentence from the candle dragon, Lin Moyu's thoughts churned. His aura surged, reflecting his unsettled heart. Having just exerted himself fully and strengthened his Dao, even his Dao heart was stirred, leading him to these thoughts. The candle dragon did not disturb Lin Moyu. He had paid attention to Lin Moyu before and vaguely sensed this would happen. After a while, Lin Moyu's aura returned to normal, and his tone calmed. This is the limit of what I can do right now. My strength is still not enough. The candle dragon replied, it's enough. You've surpassed most Eternals, only a few can compare to you. Lin Moyu continued to wield the power of death, corroding the Tao of curses, wearing it down bit by bit. 10 years, then 10 years more. Lin Moyu had decided to utterly destroy it and would not stop until he succeeded. For those 10 years, he went nowhere. Bound by the rules of heaven and earth, the candle dragon could not leave either. The two simply stared at each other, together in that place. Lin Moyu said, once I finish off the Lord of Curses, I'll help you with your matter. The candle dragon nodded. All right. He had previously thought Lin Moyu, having just become eternal, would need time to adapt, but now he saw that wasn't necessary at all. Lin Moyu's control over his power was astonishing. Not only did he master his own strength perfectly, but he could also cross extremes and accomplish things others could not in countless years. The origin land gradually quieted, the only sound being the spirits of hell gnawing at the Tao of curses. Occasionally, Lin Moyu would chat with the candle dragon. The candle dragon had lived for countless years and knew almost everything that had happened in heaven and earth. Lin Moyu learned many interesting things from him. To the candle dragon, heaven and earth were like a giant stage, with cultivators as actors fighting to the death over things he found laughable. 10 years passed quickly. For many cultivators, 10 years was just a short seclusion, or even the length of a grand banquet. Some banquets could last decades or centuries. To many, 10 years was a blink, easily wasted. But to Lin Moyu, 10 years was not short. He could accomplish a lot. The origin land was sealed for 10 years. The Eternals went from being puzzled to getting used to it, almost forgetting the origin land existed. Finally, after 10 years, the origin land reopened. The Eternals entered at once, without a word. The origin land seemed unchanged. The Taos flowed quietly, separated by the rules of heaven and earth. They saw Lin Moyu standing quietly on the undying Tao. The Tao of time was also there, undisturbed, as if the fall of the Lord of Time had been a dream. Everything seemed calm, with no problems. But if there was nothing wrong, why had the candle dragon sealed the origin land? Ah, The Lord of Power's startled cry shattered the calm. He stared ahead in disbelief, his aura surging like thunder through the origin land. Everyone followed his gaze and their faces changed dramatically, their eyes wide with unprecedented shock. Each eternal lost their composure. The scene before them shattered their understanding. Where the Tao of Curses should have been was empty. There were no rules of heaven and earth, as if a giant hole had opened in the origin land. The Lord of Power's voice trembled. The Tao of Curses, how is it gone? The human emperor said gravely, the Tao of Curses has vanished. The Lord of Curses has fallen. But why did we feel nothing? Heaven and earth didn't react at all. 10 years ago, when the Lord of Time fell, heaven and earth mourned, and the whole realm was plunged into grief. They all sensed it. That event had shown them that even Eternals could die. But this time, the Tao of Curses had collapsed, and the Lord of Curses should have fallen, yet heaven and earth showed no reaction. Old Yin Head looked at Lin Moyu. Taoist Lin, what exactly happened? Everyone looked at him in unison, knowing he must be involved. Lin Moyu glanced over. All the Eternals were present except in Yuyan. No one knew where she was. He spoke calmly, are you asking about the Lord of Time, or the Tao of Curses? Old Yin Head hesitated, then smiled. Both. His words clearly represented the others' thoughts. They all wanted to know what had happened in those 10 years. Lin Moyu said, it's actually very simple. The Spirit of Time and the Lord of Time had a deep grudge. I also had some past issues with the Lord of Time, so I helped the Spirit of Time get rid of him and let the Spirit of Time take his place as the new Lord of Time. No need for details, this was enough. Now that the Tao of Time had a new master, any objections were moot. Besides, according to the Spirit of Time, the old Lord of Time had no real friendships among the Eternals. At that moment, the Tao of Time surged, and the Spirit of Time appeared from the Tao, bowing to the group. Time greets all fellow Taoists. They hurriedly returned the greeting. Congratulations, Lord of Time. A new Lord of Time had never appeared before, but it wasn't unacceptable. Lin Moyu continued, as for the Tao of Curses, you all know I had a grudge with the Lord of Curses. I personally forced him into dormancy, but he was vengeful. If he ever returned after thousands of years, he'd be a nuisance, so I destroyed the Tao of Curses and sent him to his end. Old Yin Head said, but we didn't sense an Eternal's fall. Lin Moyu replied, the Tao of Curses isn't completely destroyed yet, one last step remains. Since you're all here, I invite you to witness it. The Candle Dragon had not wanted to let them in, but Lin Moyu's words changed his mind. Lin Moyu wanted to show everyone through his actions, do not be my enemy. Even Eternals, he could kill. He took out the cause-seeking ring and activated it. Seek the cause, ask the result. 4166. 4166. Chapter 4166, so this is chaos. The causality-seeking ring activated, and Lin Moyu used it to lock onto the final location of the cursed Great Tao. Once a Great Tao enters the origin land, it forms a mysterious connection with the core of the realm. The natural formation evolved by the divine rune corresponding to that Tao becomes stronger and moves closer to the most important spot in the realm's core. In other words, a Tao that enters the origin land gains a different status within the realm's core. This is set by the rules, a natural result of the realm's evolution. The portion of the cursed Great Tao that entered the origin land had been completely erased, but a final essence remained, hidden within the divine rune at the realm's core. If this rune isn't destroyed, that essence will, under the rules, eventually evolve again, recreating the cursed Great Tao in the origin land. Of course, this process is very slow, but as long as Lin Moyu occasionally intervenes, the Lord of Curses will never rise again. However, Lin Moyu doesn't have the time to keep managing this. If he wants to destroy the cursed Great Tao completely, he must destroy the divine rune in the realm's core. Zulong had told him that destroying a Tao and shattering its divine rune would shake the realm's core and throw the world into chaos for a while. At first, Zulong didn't give specific reasons, but after 10 years of conversations, he gradually explained why. This is also the ultimate secret behind why Eternals are almost never killed. Without knowing this, Lin Moyu wouldn't have realized that a Tao in the origin land is still connected to the divine rune in the realm's core. Upon learning all this, Lin Moyu decided to put on a show for others. He wanted everyone to know how powerful his methods were, to cement his unmatched status across the 5 world realms, and to make sure no one dared provoke him. It was a warning to others, a kill the chicken to scare the monkeys tactic, he thought. During the backlash from the causality-seeking ring, his body and soul shattered again, then were reborn in purple light. The answer he got from seeking cause and effect this time was weighty, and the backlash from the ring was stronger than before again, both his body and soul collapsed. Lin Moyu could clearly feel that the causal power used by the ring was not from this realm's causality great Tao. The backlash carried the power of chaos, making it hard to endure. If he could transcend, with his body and soul turned chaotic, he could wield the causality-seeking ring freely. But even now, he could use it at worst, he'd just die a few times. The one who gave him the ring had calculated that he was the only one in the realm who could use it. After the backlash, the causality-seeking ring was fully activated. A faint light shot from the ring, directly locking onto the last essence of the cursed Great Tao and opening a space-time channel. Instantly, divine runes and naturally evolved grand formations appeared before everyone's eyes, and the Eternals exclaimed in shock. It's the realm's core, the most mysterious place in legend. I always thought it was just a myth. I can't believe it's real. The realm's core is the most mysterious place, even to Eternals. None had ever truly seen it. Lin Moyu's actions today opened their eyes. Lin Moyu declared, I will personally destroy the cursed Great Tao. When I do, the world may be thrown into a brief chaos. If your worlds are affected, I apologize in advance. He spoke politely, but his attitude was firm. The apology was really just a notification. Faced with such a powerful Lin Moyu, none of the Eternals dared object. Who would dare provoke someone who could erase a Tao in the origin land and open the realm's core at will? Anyone who crossed Lin Moyu could easily be killed by him. They had lived for countless years, but the longer they lived, the less they wanted to die. Lin Moyu's aura began to rise, quickly reaching the peak of half-step transcendence just a hair's breadth from true transcendence. At that moment, he stood at the pinnacle of the world, his overwhelming pressure shaking the origin land and making even the Eternals present tremble with fear. Lin Moyu's current state was something they had pursued for countless years and never reached, yet this newly ascended Eternal achieved it so easily. Their old faces stung with shame. They knew Lin Moyu was strong, but only now, up close, did they realize how strong. Lin Moyu had reached the realm's limit, but this was not his true limit, nor what he wanted to show. He shouted, Zulong, I'll need your help. Zulong slowly appeared in the void this time, not just his eyes, but his true form. This signaled to all that what was about to happen would be extraordinary. Zulong glanced at Lin Moyu, then his aura rose as he slowly closed his eyes. Instantly, the origin land darkened, and all rules fell silent. Zulong used his power to pause the operation of the realm's rules. As the rules paused, Lin Moyu's aura surged again. Bang! It was as if glass shattered. In that instant, Lin Moyu's gaze pierced through the world, seeing beyond it countless soul-devouring spirits appeared, and beyond them, boundless chaos. So this is what lies outside the realm. At that moment, Lin Moyu formally stepped into transcendence. Hurry! Zulong's voice urged in his ear. Lin Moyu withdrew all thoughts. Zulong was shielding him from the rules, otherwise, he would have been expelled from the world the moment he broke through. World-ending palm. He unleashed his strongest attack. The palm imprint, though not large, carried unimaginable power and shot along the channel opened by the causality-seeking ring, blasting into the realm's core and striking the divine formation corresponding to the cursed Great Tao. After the strike, Lin Moyu's body shattered, but he was instantly reborn, his eyes fixed on the result. Zulong withdrew his power, and the rules began to flow again. The Eternals were all horrified. They felt that if Lin Moyu had used that palm against them, they would have died without question. They watched as the palm imprint struck the divine rune's formation, shattering it, then crushed the rune itself. With the rune destroyed, the balance of the realm's core was broken, setting off a massive upheaval. Boom! The core shook violently, the entire realm quaked as if in an earthquake, the great Taos trembled, the origin land shook, and all Tao powers fell into chaos. The anomaly at the core quickly spread to the origin land, then to the ancestral land, and onto the myriad worlds. Zulong roared, using the rules to stabilize the worlds. At the same time, a flood of karma rushed toward Lin Moyu. All karma, I will bear it. Lin Moyu shouted, taking all the karma upon himself to shield the myriad worlds from disaster. 4167, 4167. Chapter 4167, He is invincible. Endless karma pierced through the void, surging into the origin land, rushing toward Lin Moyu. The divine rune of world destruction shattered the cursed Tao, causing chaos throughout heaven and earth. The consequences of this act were unimaginable. Countless living beings could die as a result, and the accumulated karma would be beyond comprehension. Originally, part of this karma would be borne by Lin Moyu, and the rest by Candle Dragon. Candle Dragon, of course, did not want to bear any of this karma. He feared that such immense karma would affect his own plans for transcendence. So he never intended to tell Lin Moyu that the last essence of the cursed Tao was left in the core of the realm. Simply destroying the cursed Tao in the origin land would not truly annihilate it. But this couldn't be hidden from Lin Moyu. Whether a Tao had been shattered, or whether the Lord of Curses had truly perished, could be sensed. There was no way to deceive anyone. Candle Dragon tactfully explained his thoughts to Lin Moyu, and after some discussion, Lin Moyu agreed to bear all the karma himself. Only then did Candle Dragon reveal the final location of the cursed Tao to Lin Moyu, knowing Lin Moyu had a treasure that could use karma to pinpoint and lock onto the cursed Tao. Now, as karma surged madly, Candle Dragon, to avoid affecting the origin land, used his authority to open up a separate channel for this karma, something they had agreed upon beforehand. Faith, Lin Moyu shouted. In the Great Thousand World, countless beings simultaneously contributed vast amounts of faith power to Lin Moyu. This faith power could offset some of the karma, but only a portion. Over 70% of the karma still fell on Lin Moyu. Even just 70% of the karmic backlash was more than Lin Moyu could bear. Bang! Lin Moyu's physical body exploded, shattering to pieces, and even his soul was torn apart. The matter was so grave that all the Eternals present could feel the wrath of heaven and earth. Not just Lin Moyu, any of them would have perished under the first wave of karmic impact, their Taos falling into dormancy. Of course, they wouldn't truly die, but with such immense karma entangling them, who knew how many years it would take to return? At that moment, some thought Lin Moyu was being foolish. Even if he had a grudge with the Lord of Curses, it wasn't worth sacrificing himself. But in the next second, a flash of purple light appeared, and Lin Moyu was reborn, fresh and alive. Even the punishment of the world's rules could not stop his rebirth. The karmic backlash did not come in just one wave, it surged like a storm, wave after wave. Lin Moyu did not know how the world's rules calculated karma. Candle Dragon had warned him that the karma would be enormous. The world might use destiny to calculate all possible future consequences, factoring in everything that might happen. After all, what Lin Moyu had done touched the very bottom line of heaven and earth, affecting the core of the realm, so the punishment was bound to be severe. Just after being reborn, Lin Moyu's body and soul shattered again. He died once more, but only a second later, he was reborn again. The punishment continued, with invisible forces crushing Lin Moyu, but every second he reappeared, full of life. He died again and again, and was reborn again and again. Unknowingly, he had died dozens of times. The Eternals present were stunned. Lin Moyu simply could not die. After so many deaths, he revived every time. If it had been them, they would have been dormant for countless cycles by now. The punishment of heaven and earth was truly bizarre, wave after wave, never stopping. Surely, no matter how great the karma, it should end eventually. Candle Dragon's eyes were also strange. The severity and persistence of this punishment exceeded his expectations. He was also shocked by Lin Moyu's revival ability. To revive a few times was one thing, but now it seemed he simply could not die. Indeed, Lin Moyu could not die. After advancing to eternity, his innate abilities had strengthened. Now he could be reborn every second. If this pace continued, he could keep being reborn until the end of time. That was why he dared to take on all the karma. He simply wasn't worried. Now, there were very few things in this realm that could kill him. Even the punishment of heaven and earth could hardly do so. The human emperor sighed, so this is the undying Tao. Old Yin had agreed, yes, he simply can't die. Even heaven and earth can't do anything to him. The Lord of Power said, he's invincible, heaven and earth can't kill him. At this moment, in the eyes of the Eternals, Lin Moyu was truly invincible. While the Eternals' strengths were similar, they had to admit that Lin Moyu was now far ahead of them. After dying 99 times, the punishment finally stopped, and the karmic backlash dissipated. The strongest punishment in history was finally over. Candle Dragon said, "Remember what you promised me." Lin Moyu nodded, "I will." After Candle Dragon disappeared, Lin Moyu turned to the Eternals with a smile. "Everyone, did you enjoy the show?" The human emperor laughed, "Taoist Lin, your performance truly opened our eyes. Now we finally know what the core of the realm is really like." Old Yin had agreed, "Yes, we all knew there was a core, but we'd never seen it." Thanks to Taoist Lin, we finally have what an eye-opener. Lin Moyu said, now that the origin land is missing a Tao, there's a vacant spot. I wonder who will be lucky enough to become the next Eternal. This immediately stirred thoughts in everyone's hearts. Yes, with the cursed Tao gone, there was a vacancy in the origin land, and the gate would open. Even if it didn't, the next Tao Lord to try for eternity would have a much easier time. They all had friends, relatives, or juniors at the Tao Lord level. If they could help someone claim that spot, it would be ideal. Lin Moyu smiled, all right, my business here is done. Time to fulfill my promise. Farewell, everyone, until we meet again. His figure faded and he left the origin land. After Lin Moyu left, the Eternals also departed, not just from the origin land, but from the Ungduan mountains as well. They needed to spread the news of the vacancy, so their people could try for it. Maybe one of them would become the next Eternal. Lin Moyu returned to the Ungduan mountains, arriving at Inyuyan's palace. The palace had been sealed for many years, and the aura of karma inside showed that Inyuyan was in closed-door cultivation. Lin Moyu thought for a moment, then conjured a spirit flower, left a message in it, and turned to leave. The spirit flower floated in front of the palace, merging with the formation. When Inyuyan finished her cultivation, she would see Lin Moyu's message. Lin Moyu returned to the great wilderness, flying toward its center, where the dragon awaited him. Along the way, he saw many filth pools. Now, out of 108 pools, 78 had been purified by the soulless beast, who was growing ever stronger. The beast emperors seemed to have stopped trying to stop the soulless beast, as if they no longer cared. 4168, 4168. Chapter 4168, Candle Dragon's Path. Over the past 10 years, the soulless beast had lived quite comfortably, continuously purifying filth pools and countless wild beasts, growing ever stronger. The beast emperors seemed to have vanished, no longer interfering with him. It was as if, after the last battle, the wild beasts had been thoroughly defeated. Lin Moyu found this odd. He didn't believe the beast emperors would simply cower in fear. They must be scheming something, Lin Moyu thought as he arrived at the area of the royal pool. He saw no beast emperors. Looking through the royal pool, he noticed a beast emperor's body already present in the pool. Not only were the beast emperors absent, but even the wild beasts that should have been nearby had vanished without a trace. He flew past the royal pool and visited several special filth pools, but still saw no wild beasts. Inside the special pools, mutated beasts were being nurtured, unchanged from before. This only made Lin Moyu feel more uneasy. Of the countless wild beasts in the great wilderness, only a small portion remained. The ones left seemed to be there just for the soulless beast to purify. Given the beast emperor's intelligence, they would never just sit and wait for death. Before dying, they would surely counterattack. He just didn't know how. Lin Moyu decided not to interfere, leaving the wild beast problem to the soulless beast. Despite purifying so many wild beasts, the soulless beast still hadn't developed a soul. Lin Moyu remained clueless about the process of life's birth. There was no rushing this, he could only take things one step at a time. Entering the central region of the great wilderness, he arrived at the place Candle Dragon had mentioned. As space twisted, a spatial passage appeared on its own. Come in, Candle Dragon's voice called. Lin Moyu entered the passage. After a brief transmission, he arrived at Candle Dragon's domain. The statue of Candle Dragon still towered there, with pure, powerful filth power flowing within it. As one of the two fundamental forces of the world, filth power had reached the extreme, surpassing any individual Tao. Yet Lin Moyu sensed that Candle Dragon was still one step away. If he could go further, the filth power he'd gathered would undergo a qualitative change. At that point, he would not only surpass the world's Taos, but also transcend this realm and enter chaos itself. He could use this power to achieve a chaotic body and complete his transcendence. Lin Moyu asked, "How do you want me to help?" Candle Dragon replied quietly, "I'm just one step away now. I need the essence of a soul-devouring spirit." You want me to kill a soul-devouring spirit? Why not do it yourself? With your power, it should be no problem. I can't act, Candle Dragon said. As the administrator of the world's rules, I can't leave this world at will. You should know, the filth power I've gathered is made from Tao impurities, while soul-devouring spirits are formed from the world's impurities. You can think of them as another type of wild beast. Only by fusing both types of impurity can my filth power become perfect, allowing me to transcend the boundaries of this world and break free from the rules. Lin Moyu understood. The world's rules both empowered and restricted Candle Dragon. As long as those rules existed, he couldn't leave the world and thus couldn't collect soul-devouring spirit essence, so he was destined never to transcend. This was the world's restriction on him, but it didn't completely block his path. He could seek help from others, but finding a cultivator capable of killing a soul-devouring spirit was nearly impossible. Throughout history, no Eternal had ever managed it. Soul-devouring spirits' immunity to the Tao meant they were impervious to cultivators. Candle Dragon had prepared for this step for years, but was stuck here. Now, with filth power ready, all he needed was the essence of a soul-devouring spirit to fill the last gap. When he saw Lin Moyu kill soul-devouring spirits in the chaotic domain of the Void Realm years ago, Candle Dragon's hopes were ignited. He'd been waiting for Lin Moyu to become eternal. Lin Moyu's progress had exceeded his expectations, and now transcendence seemed within reach. Candle Dragon said, "Only a soul-devouring spirit king possesses the essence I need. They are very strong, be careful." Lin Moyu asked, "Before I act, tell me more about soul-devouring spirits." Knowing one's enemy is key to victory. Lin Moyu knew little about them and needed more information. Candle Dragon, wanting Lin Moyu to succeed in one try, held nothing back. Though he couldn't leave the world, he had studied soul-devouring spirits extensively. Their habits, composition, and hierarchy were all clear to him. Soul-devouring spirits are very similar to Tao wild beasts. From weakest to strongest, they are ordinary soul-devouring spirits, soul-devouring spirit kings, and soul-devouring spirit emperors. Ordinary soul-devouring spirits aren't very strong, just a step below a Tao lord, a bit stronger than a typical wild beast. A soul-devouring spirit king is equivalent to an eternal, while a soul-devouring spirit emperor surpasses eternity. To deal with ordinary soul-devouring spirits, you just need to use 2 or more Taos at once. In history, some Tao lords have killed them. But spirit kings and emperors are much stronger, and their Tao immunity is greater. They can be immune to multiple Taos at once, making them much harder to kill. Candle Dragon's years of research had paid off, teaching Lin Moyu much. It turned out that soul-devouring spirits were only immune to individual Taos. If a Tao lord attacked with one Tao, the spirit would become immune to that Tao. If the Tao lord used 2 Taos simultaneously, the spirit could only be immune to one and would be injured by the other. But if 2 Tao lords attacked with 2 different Taos, the soul-devouring spirit could become immune to both, so numbers didn't help. A soul-devouring spirit king could be immune to 10 Taos at once, a spirit emperor to 1,000. This escalation explained why spirit emperors were so formidable. Killing a spirit emperor was nearly impossible. Even a spirit king was extremely hard to kill, as no Tao lord or eternal could wield more than 10 Taos at once. Even if they could, the extra Taos wouldn't be strong enough to do much damage. Meanwhile, soul-devouring spirits could devour souls and Taos. The longer the fight, the stronger they became, while the cultivator's strength waned. If tainted by their power, one's own strength would weaken and cultivation would suffer. Lin Moyu asked Candle Dragon, "Have you tried sending others to deal with soul-devouring spirits before?" Some research can't be done without real experiments. For Candle Dragon to have such detailed results, he must have run many trials. Candle Dragon didn't answer directly. "That's not important. Your technique should be enough to handle a soul-devouring spirit king. Just kill a few and bring me 3 portions of their essence." 4169, 4169. Chapter 4169, Entering the Extra-Dimensional Realm. Candle Dragon's request seemed simple, but it was actually far from easy to accomplish. The number of soul-devouring spirit kings was nothing like the number of beast kings. According to Candle Dragon, after years of observation, he was certain there were only 3 soul-devouring spirit emperors among the soul-devouring spirits, and fewer than 1,000 soul-devouring spirit kings. In the vast expanse outside the world's boundaries, finding even one soul-devouring spirit king was already difficult, let alone at least 3. Not every spirit king possessed soul-devouring essence either. With bad luck, one might need to hunt down even more. However, Lin Moyu wasn't worried. "I can use Origin Aura to lure them over. In fact, dealing with them would require using Gather Power, so this method was inevitable." Candle Dragon replied, "I know, but there's a problem. If you attract a soul-devouring spirit emperor, you could be in real danger. Out there, I can't help you." Lin Moyu understood Candle Dragon's real concern. It wasn't just about his safety, but that if Lin Moyu died, there'd be no one left to help Candle Dragon transcend. He'd waited countless years for someone like Lin Moyu, If he missed this chance, who knew how long he'd have to wait again. Lin Moyu smiled easily. Don't worry, I'm not that easy to kill. Tell me more about the soul-devouring spirit emperors. I've encountered one before, and they're indeed hard to deal with. Candle Dragon said, I know. That one is special, not an ordinary soul-devouring spirit emperor. He explained further. The soul-devouring spirit emperor behind the door had entered the real world, and Candle Dragon was well aware of it, though he didn't intervene. Even if he had, he couldn't have killed it. At most, he could have banished it. That soul-devouring spirit emperor was indeed unique. It didn't originate from this domain, but was a remnant from another, now dead domain. It had absorbed some of the power from the remains of that domain, making it even stronger than other emperors. It also possessed intelligence. If it couldn't win, it would escape. So unless it caused major trouble, Candle Dragon wouldn't act. Candle Dragon knew Lin Moyu was searching for that door and wanted to return, so he hadn't interfered. The destruction of several worlds was a trivial matter to Candle Dragon. The Myriad Spirits Pavilion's domain is already dead. The space behind that door is a remnant of a dead domain, a relic left after its demise. The domain is gone, and all the soul-devouring spirits that once enveloped it are gone too, except for that one special emperor who survived. It's much stronger than the average soul-devouring spirit emperor, certainly not something I could have handled back then. Candle Dragon asked, any other questions? Lin Moyu replied, not for now. Please open the passage and send me out. Candle Dragon turned his head and bit off a scale from his own neck. Take this. It will let you find your way back. Be careful out there, I won't be able to help you, just watch. Lin Moyu nodded and put the scale away. Candle Dragon activated the statue, not using the rules this time, but his own power to open a passage. The formation beneath the statue activated, the Tao cloud in the sky parted, revealing a pitch-black void. Beyond the void was the extra-dimensional realm, and this place was very close to it. Candle Dragon said, for countless years, I've been using filth power to grind down the domain barrier. Here, the barrier is already very thin. The domain barrier is what keeps out the soul-devouring spirits. As long as it exists, they can't invade. Long ago, the Kunlun Emperor, in pursuit of transcendence, broke through the domain barrier in the virtual realm, letting the soul-devouring spirits in. Candle Dragon's method was much more refined. He simply thinned the barrier enough to set up a teleportation array, letting himself be sent out. The barrier wasn't broken, so the soul-devouring spirits still couldn't get in, and everything remained safe. Filth power surged from the statue, and a formation appeared on the domain barrier, connecting both sides. Candle Dragon said, enter the array. Be careful out there. Lin Moyu nodded slightly and flew to the domain barrier, slipping into the formation. The array carried him through the barrier into the extra-dimensional realm, where a strange yet familiar aura greeted him. Lin Moyu felt as if this wasn't his first time here. The aura of the extra-dimensional realm was a mixture of domain and chaos, oddly familiar despite its strangeness. He recalled that he hadn't felt this way in the Kunlun Great Spirit domain, but since he couldn't find any memory of it, he let it go. Lin Moyu stood still, scanning the extra-dimensional world. Strictly speaking, this wasn't fully the extra-dimensional realm yet. It was still shrouded in the domain's power. The way home was right behind him. At most, this place was a half extra-dimensional realm. The Lord of Power had once come here through a rift in the dead end, where he was besieged by soul-devouring spirits and badly injured before escaping. Lin Moyu checked his connection to the origin land and found it still intact. Besides Candle Dragon's scale, he had a second escape route. But Candle Dragon had warned that if he encountered a soul-devouring spirit emperor, he'd be in danger, meaning the emperor could prevent his return, otherwise, there'd be no risk. On guard, Lin Moyu watched the space around him twist as his undead servants flew out in all directions. They hadn't gone far before discovering soul-devouring spirits. These spirits wandered aimlessly in the void, their soul flames strange and full of impurities, sometimes blazing, sometimes faint, utterly chaotic. This meant these ordinary soul-devouring spirits had no intelligence. Their chaotic souls also told Lin Moyu they were mad. Once provoked, they'd go berserk. Lin Moyu decided to provoke the mad ones. His undead servants could use the power of chaos and the Great Thousand World to resonate with the world's Taos and manipulate them. But he'd never tried having an undead servant control multiple Taos at once. At his command, one undead servant simultaneously wielded the gold and fire Taos from the 5 elements, merging their powers to create a flaming golden sword. The sword streaked through the void, slashing at a soul-devouring spirit. Ordinary soul-devouring spirits had power comparable to a Tao Lord, but against an undead servant nearly at the eternal level, they were helpless. The spirit instinctively resisted the Tao, but since the sword contained two Taos, it could only be immune to one. This spirit was immune to the fire Tao, but was torn apart by the gold Tao. It works. Lin Moyu was reassured if his undead servants could harm these spirits, then ordinary soul-devouring spirits were no longer a threat. The spirit's soul scattered, leaving behind fragments. Killing soul-devouring spirits yielded loot that could strengthen one's soul just as in the virtual realm. The undead servant brought it back, and Lin Moyu immediately refined it into soul powder. His own soul was already at its limit, so he didn't want to leave the domain too soon and refrained from absorbing it. He saved it for Xiaomei and the other girls to use in cultivation. Asterisk 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 asterisk. My Ko-fi page is broken, working with them to get it fixed. Asterisk 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 asterisk. 4170, 4170. Chapter 4170, The Manager in Name Only. Cautiously, Lin Moyu dispatched more undead servants, sending them out in waves. They killed large numbers of soul devourers and brought back the resulting soul powder for Lin Moyu to refine. The amount of soul powder he possessed grew at an astonishing rate. Soul powder was a precious resource, highly beneficial for the soul and surpassing many top treasures within the realms, with the key advantage of having almost no side effects. Previously, Lin Moyu had collected a fair amount in the Void Kunlun, but he'd used it up shared among Xiaomei, Wu Daozhen, and others. Now, he had the chance to gather it in large quantities again, which he found very satisfying. He wasn't in a rush to seek out the Soul Devourer King. Such a good opportunity shouldn't be wasted by not collecting more soul powder. The outer void was just emptiness, there was no map, and the undead servants could go in any direction and would always encounter soul devourers. Lin Moyu had seen the outer world once before and knew that the densest soul devourer populations were farther from the boundary of the realms. The closer to the boundary, the fewer soul devourers there were. This distance was not small, over 1,000,000 li. The undead servants kept expanding their search, moving farther from the boundary. The farther they went, the weaker the Tao power provided by the boundary became. For ordinary cultivators, their strength would diminish the farther they went. This was one reason the Lord of Power had once been severely injured by soul devourers. He couldn't use his full strength far from the boundary. Other cultivators faced this issue, but Lin Moyu did not. The projection of the Great Thousand World appeared outside the boundary, not conflicting with it, and for the first time, the Great Thousand World revealed itself in near complete form. Its shadow occupied hundreds of thousands of li of void, displaying its majestic presence. Boundless Tao power was projected outward, providing a constant source of strength for the undead servants. With the Great Thousand World's support, the undead servants moved like fish in water, wielding Tao power with ease and slaying soul devourers effortlessly. Candle Dragon watched Lin Moyu's actions through the boundary wall. Since Lin Moyu had gone out, he hadn't moved a step himself. Everything was handled by the undead servants. This made it clear to Candle Dragon just how cautious Lin Moyu was. Now, seeing the Great Thousand World, Candle Dragon's eyes narrowed sharply. I was wrong. I've always been wrong. He had seen Lin Moyu's Great Thousand World before, but within the boundary, it was limited and seemed no different from the rule worlds of other cultivators, or even similar to some treasures containing inner worlds. At the time, Candle Dragon hadn't noticed anything special. Only now did he realize what Lin Moyu's Great Thousand World truly was. Candle Dragon muttered, "This guy actually possesses a realm." He couldn't believe it. Lin Moyu didn't just have a small world, but an entire realm. It might not be strong yet, but it would only grow stronger with time. Becoming a realm lord was inevitable for Lin Moyu, just a matter of when and how large. Candle Dragon realized Lin Moyu was walking a path no one had ever taken before, a path uniquely his own. At this moment, Candle Dragon was certain, Lin Moyu would inevitably transcend. The road he walked was difficult at first, but would become broader and broader, allowing him to achieve transcendence from different directions. As the rule manager of the 5 realms, Candle Dragon had looked down on the world for countless years, witnessing all the so-called peerless geniuses. In his eyes, none were truly remarkable. Even the human emperor, who knocked on the gate of eternity and understood the principle of extremes meet, stood at the forefront of Eternals, but to Candle Dragon, he was just so-so. But now, for the first time, Candle Dragon felt admiration. In his eyes, Lin Moyu's future was already set. So long as he didn't fall, transcendence was certain. In fact, transcendence might not even be the end, he might touch that legendary realm. Suddenly, a ripple appeared in the void beside Candle Dragon, and a thin, elderly man in a green robe appeared. Candle Dragon shuddered, his massive body prostrating itself. "Little dragon greets the Lord." "Greetings, my lord." The green-robed elder chuckled, "It's been many years. Looks like you've been doing well." Candle Dragon replied, "If not for your guidance back then, I could never have come this far." The elder nodded, then gazed into the void. His eyes pierced the boundary, taking in everything outside. He murmured, "Let's hope it works this time." Candle Dragon trembled, hearing from the elder's tone that he regarded Lin Moyu as someone on his own level. That was truly terrifying. It meant Lin Moyu's status was extraordinary. But Candle Dragon dared not ask, bowing his head even lower. The elder said, "No need to be nervous. I've come and gone many times, I just never told you. His identity is indeed special, but you don't need to know. Things will continue as they always have. I'm not here for anything else, just to let you know, you have a very high chance of transcending this time. After you transcend, come find me." With that, a green token appeared in the elder's hand, bearing the image of a green robe. He handed the token to Candle Dragon. "With this guidance token, you can find me in the chaos and receive my guidance." Candle Dragon hurriedly accepted it, thanking him profusely. "Thank you, Celestial." The elder waved a hand. "No need for that. Soon, this realm will have another transcender." "Very good, very good." He smiled softly, fading away and disappearing. Candle Dragon's heart was in turmoil. The elder's words revealed more information. Among the 5 realms, there had once been other transcendents. He himself was one of the extra 10. But he had never seen anyone transcend. The only one, the Kunlun Emperor, was just a half-step transcender, not a true one. But he dared not doubt the elder's words. Candle Dragon thought and thought, but couldn't figure out who had transcended. He recalled the Listen Beast in the Void Realm, knowing it wasn't native, but that it was connected to another terrifying figure. He couldn't ask. After a long time, Candle Dragon's mind felt like it would explode, so he finally gave up. "No more thinking. It doesn't matter who it is. Once I transcend, I'll know." He comforted himself, feeling that as a rule manager, he was little more than a figurehead. Such major events had happened in the realm, and he knew nothing. A manager like that might as well not exist. The sooner he transcended, the sooner he could leave this world and see the true vastness beyond, to witness what the real pinnacle looked like. Candle Dragon even had ambitions. Maybe one day, he could reach the elder's level and become truly invincible. On the outer edge of the realm, the undead servants were busier than ever. Hundreds of billions shuttled back and forth, bringing back soul powder from the soul devourers. The number of soul devourers far exceeded that of Dao wild beasts. For countless years, they had no enemies and suffered no losses, so their numbers kept growing. There was no way to kill them all quickly. Suddenly, a furious roar came from afar. A group of undead servants had been badly wounded. "The Soul Devourer King has finally arrived." 4171, 4171. Chapter 4171, Courtesy Demands Reciprocity. After several days in the Outer Realms, having slain countless ordinary Soul Devourers, Lin Moyu finally encountered his first Soul Devourer King. The Soul Devourer King, upon appearing, immediately severely injured many undead servants. From the feedback of the undead, Lin Moyu confirmed that the Soul Devourer King's combat strength was indeed comparable to an Eternal, no stronger than an ordinary Eternal being. The key was that the Soul Devourer King could simultaneously gain immunity to 10 great Daos, all targeting the same individual. If facing different enemies, its number of immunities would increase further. Lin Moyu tried to have his undead servants besiege the Soul Devourer King. Over 100 undead unleashed attacks from different Daos, but none could harm the king. This confirmed what Candle Dragon had said. To deal with a Soul Devourer King, a single person must control more than 10 Daos in an attack. This was extremely difficult. As far as Lin Moyu knew, neither Dao Lords nor Eternals could do it. Even if they could barely control multiple Daos, aside from their main Dao, the others would be too weak to kill a soul devourer king. The same applied to undead servants, who at most could wield 5 Daos without losing power. Thus, no matter how many there were, undead servants couldn't handle a soul devourer king. The king seemed aware of Lin Moyu's presence. After injuring many undead, it came straight for him. Lin Moyu guessed this was due to soul powder he'd refined and collected so much that its lingering aura, both in the area and on himself, acted as a beacon for the king. Soon, the soul devourer king appeared within sight. It resembled the one Lin Moyu had seen in Void Kunlun. He recalled that in the Void Kunlun Great Domain, the king's avatar had appeared, even at a fraction of its true power, neither he nor Candle Dragon could handle it. Now, facing the true body, Lin Moyu felt far from confident. The king closed in rapidly, traversing billions of miles in an instant, soon less than 1,000,000 miles away an instant's distance, now within the projection range of the Great Thousand World. Lin Moyu raised his hand and pointed, torrent of the Great Tao. The projection of the Great Thousand World lit up, over 100 Daos erupting and surging toward the king. Within this projection range, the world's power became dominant, firmly locking onto the soul devourer king. Invisible force pinned it in place, unable to move. The torrent of Daos crashed down, grinding the king's body. In terms of raw power, this strike was on par with an Eternal's attack. Yet it was the king's nemesis. Over 100 Daos shattered it to dust. The soul devourer king was strong and immune to Daos, but its defense failed instantly when overwhelmed by more than its limit. Yet this didn't mean it was dead. Another troublesome trait was that even when shattered, it wouldn't die. It could revive, with each fragment acting as an independent avatar, scattering in all directions and recombining as needed. Its recovery was extremely fast. No matter the injury, it could heal in seconds. Lin Moyu had fought such avatars before and knew these traits, so he kept up the attack. The torrent of Daos became a grinding mill, pulverizing the king. It was reduced not just to fragments, but to dust, yet still didn't die. Soon, Lin Moyu realized this method was futile. The grinding mill had its limits and could do nothing more to the dust. In his eyes, every speck of dust became a soul devourer king, countless eyes staring at him. The king felt no pain, only killing intent. Snap! Lin Moyu snapped his fingers, and the world-burning fire blazed, merging into the torrent to refine the king. He tried this before to little effect, but the fire was now much stronger. Perhaps it would help. The king struggled in the flames, emitting a piercing scream that stabbed at Lin Moyu's soul. His soul trembled, and hallucinations appeared. Friends and family, past experiences, all replayed before him. Some treated him kindly, others with stern authority, every reaction possible. This was a soul-level attack, striking at his Tao heart. For most, even Eternals with firm Tao hearts, it would have some effect. But Lin Moyu's Tao heart was as solid as iron. These illusions were useless. He waved his hand, and flames burned away the hallucinations. Lin Moyu, you ungrateful wretch. Lin Moyu, you'll die for betraying your masters and ancestors. Moyu, how could you attack me? Former kin, lovers, elders, and teachers screamed in the flames, cursing Lin Moyu. But he remained unmoved, his mind clear, the world tree's pure aura keeping his soul awake. He knew these were illusions, his actions were only ever for a clear conscience. The hallucinations vanished. In that instant, the king, now dust, escaped the fire. The dust reformed into the king, its aura undiminished, its killing intent even fiercer. The king roared, its form suddenly shifting. It became Zhu Qiwu, a senior who had guarded the battlefield for 1,000 years and once helped Lin Moyu in his youth. Lin Moyu deeply respected him. Now, Zhu Qiwu was in Yudao City, already a Dao lord and close to the Dao realm. After entering the origin continent, his talent had blossomed, his cultivation soaring, not inferior to the likes of Hao Daozhen. The king, now in Zhu Qiwu's form, spoke, "Die." He punched, and a massive fist imprint appeared in the void, sweeping forth with chaotic Dao power. Lin Moyu recognized this as the world-suppressing fist, Zhu Qiwu's strongest technique. Lin Moyu instantly realized something was wrong. He knew of the world-suppressing fist, but had never seen it. There was no information about it in his memory. How did the king know it? His thoughts raced, and he quickly deduced a possibility. The king could not only become people from his subconscious, but could also extract information about them, even things Lin Moyu himself didn't consciously know. Amazing! Lin Moyu's aura surged, instantly reaching half-step transcendence. Courtesy demands reciprocity. Heavenly Dao world-ending palm. 4172, 4172. Chapter 4172, The Hard-to-Kill Soul-Devouring Spirit King. Lin Moyu struck with his palm, a massive imprint sweeping across the void, crushing the world-suppressing fist, with absolute power and landing squarely on the soul-devouring Spirit King, who had transformed into Zhu Qiwu. The world-ending palm, fused from countless Daos and evolving into the very source of Dao power, had already surpassed what the soul-devouring Spirit King could be immune to. It also exceeded the limits of even the Eternals. The soul-devouring Spirit King was smashed to powder on the spot, but he did not die. In the blink of an eye, the powder reassembled, and he returned to his original form. Still, this strike was not without effect compared to the earlier torrent of Daos. Lin Moyu's palm clearly injured him. The soul-devouring Spirit King's aura was slightly weaker than before, though only a little. It was enough to prove Lin Moyu's attacks were effective. Lin Moyu had expected the soul-devouring Spirit King to be hard to kill, but he was prepared to grind him down bit by bit. Yet Lin Moyu wanted to try other methods after all. Such a good test subject was hard to come by. With a thought, countless Daos in the Great Thousand World activated at once, evolving into innumerable chains that shot toward the soul-devouring Spirit King. The Spirit King seemed to sense danger and screamed as he retreated. Lin Moyu moved. The cursed wings of time appeared and vibrated, causing time in an area of tens of thousands of miles to become chaotic. With a flap of the wings of time, Lin Moyu appeared behind the soul-devouring Spirit King like a teleport and struck with his palm. The Spirit King's body exploded, unable to resist Lin Moyu in his half-step transcendent state. The Dao chains followed, transforming into a cage that trapped the soul-devouring Spirit King. Lin Moyu pointed, fire flickered, and the bone hell appeared within the cage. The flames of hell surged, and the hellish fiends frantically devoured the powder. The powder turned into countless tiny soul-devouring spirits, shrieking in terror unlike their previous cries. The hellish fiends swallowed the powder, but because it was so fine, they couldn't bite it, only gulp it down. Their bellies swelled, and after a few seconds, the fiends exploded, and the tiny soul-devouring Spirit Kings escaped from within. These fragments were clearly weaker than before. Though they escaped, they were not unscathed. Even though the fiends exploded, they were reborn in the hellfire the next second. As long as the bone hell endured, the fiends would not die. Lin Moyu observed this, confirming that the hellish fiends could indeed devour anything, even the soul-devouring Spirit King, though the efficiency was low. Previously, the hellish fiends had devoured part of the cursed Dao, greatly strengthening the bone hell, now reaching the eternal level. If they could devour the soul-devouring Spirit King as well, not all of him was needed, just a part would suffice. The soul-devouring Spirit King reformed and recovered again, launching attacks that shattered any nearby hellish fiends. A fierce dragon's roar rang out as the Black Prison charged at the Spirit King. With the Bone Hell's advancement, the Black Prison was now as strong as an eternal. It didn't use Daos, relying solely on its own power, so the Spirit King could not be immune. The Black Prison and the soul-devouring Spirit King battled fiercely. The Spirit King seemed unable to read the Black Prison's memories, using only his own power. The hellish fiends took the opportunity to pounce, biting off chunks of the Spirit King and sacrificing themselves to consume his power. The fiends had no intelligence and no fear of death. Lin Moyu watched with interest. The battle was spectacular and worth observing. With the fiends' harassment, the Spirit King was continually injured, his aura weakening. If this continued, he would eventually be killed. Suddenly, the Spirit King glanced at Lin Moyu. Lin Moyu felt a ripple in his soul, knowing some of his memories had been read. The Spirit King's memory reading ability was truly defiant. Lin Moyu could not block it. A dragon's roar echoed through the void as the Spirit King transformed into Candle Dragon. With eyes closed, in an instant, countless hellish fiends fell like headless flies. The Black Prison was also affected, though not severely. The Spirit King, now in Candle Dragon's form, ignited with strange flames Lin Moyu had never seen before, flames of immense power. Black mist billowed from the Black Prison as it struggled to resist the fire. Lin Moyu had never seen Candle Dragon use such flames. The Spirit King had only read his memories, yet could wield powers Lin Moyu himself had never witnessed. Truly extraordinary. Lin Moyu realized the Spirit King's ability was not just memory reading or simple transformation. He could, by some rule of heaven and earth, fully master all the techniques of the being he transformed into, regardless of whether Lin Moyu had seen them. The Black Prison could not withstand the flames and retreated. The hellish fiends could not approach or bite. The Spirit King charged into the Bone Hell, rampaging through the river of hellfire and turning the Bone Hell upside down. Lin Moyu recalled the Bone Hell, tightening the Dao cage and shrinking the Spirit King's space. The Bone Hell experiment had failed, but it was enough. Lin Moyu confirmed it could devour anything. The Spirit King kept battering the Dao cage, which trembled and cracked. The Great Thousand World poured on power to maintain the cage. Lin Moyu stepped inside and struck again. World-ending palm. Candle Dragon, seeing Lin Moyu, roared and charged. He became a fire dragon, colliding with the world-ending palm. Boom! The shockwaves sent Candle Dragon flying. The palm, though weakened, still swept over him. This time, it did not reduce him to powder. Transformed into Candle Dragon, he gained the dragon's defensive power. However, Lin Moyu noticed he was not using Candle Dragon's collected filth power, only Candle Dragon's innate power. Stronger than an eternal, but not yet transcendent. Lin Moyu now understood the Spirit King's limits. Strike after strike landed on the Spirit King, forcing him back, injuring and healing in turn. With Candle Dragon's defense and his own regeneration, the Spirit King was stronger, but still fell short of Lin Moyu's half-step transcendent state. No matter how he resisted, his aura weakened. He would soon be killed. He looked at Lin Moyu again, reading his memories once more. Lin Moyu felt a breeze in his soul, knowing his memories had been accessed. He wondered who the Spirit King would become this time. In his memories, Candle Dragon was already among the strongest. There were few stronger. If he turned into a friend or relative, it would be useless. With a roar, the Spirit King began to transform again. A green light appeared, and within it, a figure in green robes, an old man in green. Lin Moyu was stunned. The Spirit King was about to become the green-robed elder. 4173, 4173. Chapter 4173, The Soul-Devouring Spirit King Courting Death. The Soul-Devouring Spirit King was actually trying to transform into the azure-robed elder. Lin Moyu unconsciously paused, curiosity flickering in his eyes. The azure-robed elder was not a native being of this realm. The Soul-Devouring Spirit King had evolved from the impurities of the domain, belonging to the Fifth World domain. Moreover, the azure-robed elder was likely a great sovereign of heaven and earth, and eternal within a domain attempting to become a great sovereign of heaven and earth. That's just asking for death. Lin Moyu didn't believe the Soul-Devouring Spirit King could succeed. This transformation was unusually slow, and the Soul-Devouring Spirit King seemed to be struggling. The azure robe had formed, but the azure-robed elder never fully appeared. The Soul-Devouring Spirit King grew anxious, roaring repeatedly, and finally, amidst the roars, managed to evolve the visage of the azure-robed elder. Then bang! Azure light exploded, and the Soul-Devouring Spirit King shattered into fragments, each glowing with blue light that lingered for a long time. The Soul-Devouring Spirit King did not recover immediately. The fragments slowly reassembled, but the process was sluggish. Lin Moyu frowned slightly, sensing a strange force from the void that struck the Soul-Devouring Spirit King and shattered him. This force was peculiar, unlike anything he'd seen before, and surpassed the power of the Great Tao. Enveloped by this force, the Soul-Devouring Spirit King could not recover for a long time. The force continued to erode him, making him weaker and weaker. After a long while, the Soul-Devouring Spirit King finally reformed, returning to his original state. But now, his aura was less than 20% of what it had been, gravely injured and hard to recover. In Lin Moyu's eyes, the Soul-Devouring Spirit King was now little stronger than an ordinary soul-devouring spirit. He could no longer utter a sound, whimpering like a wounded wild dog, his eyes full of terror. Clearly, the recent experience had terrified him. The invisible force from nowhere had shattered all his hopes. Of all things to transform into, you had to pick that guy. Serves you right. Lin Moyu's tone was tinged with disdain. In his memory, there were two people not to be touched. The Soul-Devouring Spirit King insisted on becoming one of them. If that wasn't courting death, what was? Since that was the case, Lin Moyu showed no mercy, sending him on his final journey. Palm after palm struck, repeatedly shattering the Soul-Devouring Spirit King, while the world-burning fire refined him. The Bone Hell reappeared, its spirits devouring without mercy. With multiple attacks, the Soul-Devouring Spirit King was finally driven to death. After repeated assaults, the Soul-Devouring Spirit King finally exhausted all his life force and was slain by Lin Moyu. When he completely vanished, a cluster of essence appeared in the void. It was only the size of a fist, translucent like glass, with what seemed like water flowing inside. Lin Moyu could sense the vast power within, chaotic, not of the Tao yet surpassing it. This was the condensed impurity of the domains heaven and earth. Though called essence, it was actually a terrifying poison. If poured on an eternal, it could shatter their Tao and force them into dormancy. A single drop could kill a Tao Lord. Lin Moyu collected it, murmuring, "First one." According to Candle Dragon's request, he needed to obtain 3 such essences. Now he knew how to kill a soul-devouring spirit king. As long as he could find them, it would only take some effort. If another soul-devouring spirit king foolishly tried to transform into those 2 figures, killing them would be even easier. Should I exploit this and make something of it? A plan quickly formed, and Lin Moyu got up to leave. There were no more soul-devouring spirit kings in this area. In the vast domain, there were only 1,000 or so, scattered far and wide. He would have to move on. Inside the domain, in the great wilderness, Candle Dragon personally witnessed Lin Moyu slay a soul-devouring spirit king and obtain an essence, his eyes filled with excitement. It really worked. He felt that his hope of transcendence was right before him. He could not help but be excited. Choosing Lin Moyu was absolutely the right decision, the best he'd made in countless years. Suddenly, his statue trembled. Candle Dragon turned, and through the omnipresent rules of the domain, saw what had happened. Truly courting death. A trace of disdain and a surge of killing intent appeared in Candle Dragon's eyes. He looked up toward the void and spoke slowly. Within the domain, every eternal, whether in seclusion or otherwise, heard Candle Dragon's voice at the same moment. All eternals, return to the Ungduan Mountains and prepare for battle. The army of undead servants swept along the periphery, slaughtering countless soul-devouring spirits, and Lin Moyu collected vast amounts of soul dust. Dozens of days later, another soul-devouring spirit king was found. The undead did not stop him, letting him approach. Soul-devouring spirit kings had to be dealt with personally by Lin Moyu. There was no need for the undead to sacrifice themselves. The soul-devouring spirit king entered his sight, and Lin Moyu gathered his strength, stepping into half-step transcendence. With a single stride, he was less than 100,000 li from the soul-devouring spirit king. The projection of the great thousand world appeared, the Tao forming a cage, and Lin Moyu struck with his world-ending palm. The palm swept through, shattering the soul-devouring spirit king, while the Tao cage formed, leaving him no escape. Lin Moyu's gaze was icy, his face expressionless, completely different from before. Anyone familiar with Lin Moyu would have noticed something was off. Something had changed about him, though it was self-inflicted. The soul-devouring spirit king was shattered several times, then burned by the world-burning fire, but finally seized a chance to recover. He glared fiercely at Lin Moyu, instinctively reading his memories, then began to transform into the strongest figure in Lin Moyu's mind. A white robe appeared. The soul-devouring spirit king was trying to become the white-robed elder from Lin Moyu's memory. Lin Moyu stopped attacking, quietly watching the performance. Beneath the white robe, the elder's features gradually took shape. At the moment the face was complete, white light exploded, and the soul-devouring spirit king was blasted to pieces. At the same time, Lin Moyu sensed an invisible force abruptly descend from the void. This was exactly the same as what happened to the previous soul-devouring spirit king. The only difference was blue light versus white light. The mysterious force from the void felt identical to Lin Moyu, with no difference at all. Since he didn't understand it, Lin Moyu simply stopped thinking about it. The shattered soul-devouring spirit king struggled to recover, and just as he was about to fully reform, Lin Moyu struck, kicking him while he was down. World-burning fire, bone hell, world-ending palm all at once, just as before, finishing him off while he was weak. With this assist, killing the soul-devouring spirit king became easy. In just half a day, he was dead. Unfortunately, this time no essence was left. Not every soul-devouring spirit king would leave one behind. Lin Moyu's expression and aura returned to normal, a faint smile appearing at the corner of his mouth. It really works. This will make things easier from now on. If this works on the soul-devouring spirit king, could it work on the soul-devouring spirit emperor too? If so, killing a soul-devouring spirit emperor might not be impossible. 4174. 4174. Chapter 4174, Lin Moyu's unorthodox tactic. Lin Moyu's sudden inspiration proved highly effective, becoming a weapon against the soul-devouring spirit king. Since soul-devouring spirits could read memories, transform into people from those memories, and draw upon the strongest powers of those figures from the world's rules to fight their opponent, Lin Muyu decided to seal off parts of his own memory, leaving only what he wanted the soul-devouring Spirit King to access. Of course, Lin Muyu wasn't certain this self-sealing method would work. There was always the chance the soul-devouring Spirit King could break through the seal. He was just experimenting, and the self-sealing only lasted about half an hour. While his memory was sealed, Lin Muyu's demeanor and aura naturally changed. Memory plays a huge role, carrying a person's entire life. Without it, you're essentially a different person. Fortunately, his method worked. The soul-devouring Spirit King could only read unsealed memories. Lin Muyu sealed most of his memories, keeping only those about the green-robed elder and the white-robed elder, and amplified their importance in his memory, making the soul-devouring Spirit King believe these two were extremely powerful. As a result, the soul-devouring Spirit King acquired their appearance, identity, and so on, then transformed into them and drew their strongest powers from the domain's rules. These two were likely supreme beings of the world, and the soul-devouring Spirit King was vastly outmatched. The transformation backfired before it was complete, nearly killing the king on the spot. Lin Muyu's trick succeeded, making it easy to eliminate the soul-devouring Spirit King. His undead servants continued their sweep, searching for the next king. Lin Muyu collected more and more soul powder, which was never too much indeed, the more the better. At the same time, Lin Muyu studied the essence of the soul-devouring Spirit King. Rather than the king's essence, it was more like the essence of impurities from the domain's world, of an extremely high level. Impurities might seem useless, poisonous even to cultivators, but that's only on the surface. Everything has its use. Candle Dragon could use them as a catalyst, pushing his filth power beyond its limits. Lin Muyu thought that if he wanted to become the master of the domain, he too would have to deal with these things. Impurities are only the surface, their core is a kind of rule of the domain. Similarly, soul-devouring spirits are products of the rules. If he could fully understand them, he'd comprehend the rules themselves, which would greatly benefit him. Lin Muyu already understood that although Candle Dragon was the manager of the rules, he hadn't truly grasped them. It was like how the Great Thousand World belonged to Lin Muyu, but he wasn't its creator. From nothing the world had a previous existence. He didn't know how the previous Sea of Realms world came about. And because of his relationship with the Great Thousand World, he couldn't fully understand its rules. Standing too high up, he could control the world with a thought, but the higher he stood, the harder it became to investigate the details. It's like a great chef who can cook delicious food and knows the ingredients are grown, but doesn't necessarily know how to farm, when to water or fertilize, or how to grow tastier crops. Candle Dragon is a great chef in the 5-domain world. Lin Muyu is the same for the Great Thousand World. But now, he needed to learn to farm in the 5-domain world, to understand the rules and ultimately control it as its master. The question of how living beings are born became secondary. Perhaps by understanding the rules, he'd grasp that as well. Gradually, Lin Muyu's goal changed. He no longer just wanted 3 portions of essence. He wanted more, for research. After a dozen days, he found another soul-devouring Spirit King and used the same trick, sealing his memory, luring the king into reading the wrong memories, causing it to transform incorrectly and get severely injured, and then finishing it off easily. In the depths of the void, the green-robed and white-robed elders sipped tea. The green-robed elder shook his head helplessly. We've been used as tools again. The white-robed elder chuckled. It's not the first time. We should be happy he thought of this method. The green-robed elder laughed. Yes, it looks like there's an opportunity this time. The white-robed elder nodded. A good chance. That drop of ancestral water I gave him hasn't even been used yet. He doesn't like relying on external power. The green-robed elder said. Not exactly. He uses it when necessary. Not picky, uses what's needed. That's good. As they chatted, they were well aware of everything Lin Muyu was doing. Nothing in the 5-domain world escaped their notice. In the Ungduan Mountains, all the Eternals had gathered. Even the Lord of Destiny, who had been in the dead end of the Absolute Tao, was now present, brought by Candle Dragon using the power of rules, almost like a command. Even Eternals must obey the rules, with exceptions only allowed by Candle Dragon. As the manager of the rules, Candle Dragon had certain privileges. Lin Muyu, working for Candle Dragon, was such an exception. Candle Dragon's eyes appeared above the Ungduan Mountains. I've summoned you to tell you. The Beast Emperors are plotting a great upheaval. They've already succeeded for the most part, and soon there will be more than 4 mutated wild beasts. Before the Undying Lord returns, you must hold the Ungduan Mountains. The Lord of Destiny called out, Candle Dragon, will you act this time? Candle Dragon replied quietly, I will not act unless all of you are forced into dormancy that would violate the rules. Candle Dragon could act, but if he did, he'd be punished. There was precedent. Normally, it wouldn't matter, he could just recuperate for tens of thousands of years. But now was a crucial time for Candle Dragon. He couldn't afford to be injured. Besides, mutated wild beasts weren't hard to deal with. As soon as Lin Moyu returned, he could kill them instantly. All they needed to do was hold out until Lin Moyu returned. The Lord of Destiny asked quietly, when will the Undying Lord return? Candle Dragon replied, I don't know. Old Yin had asked, where did Taoist Lin go? Cannot say. Candle Dragon's voice remained calm. And Yuyan asked, Taoist Lin previously arranged for the soulless beast to deal with the wild beasts. Where is the soulless beast now? Candle Dragon replied, the soulless beast is still in the great wilderness. This time, the beast emperors have used the soulless beast. Whether its presence is a blessing or a curse is hard to say. All you need to do is hold on until he returns. Once he's back, everything will be resolved. The human emperor's eyes flickered, is this the fate of heaven and earth? Candle Dragon replied, yes. If you succeed, you will gain immense fortune. The Eternals' faces lit up with joy. At their level, there wasn't much left to pursue. Worldly fortune was one of the few things they still sought. Candle Dragon continued, I've already notified the great Tao Lords they'll arrive soon to aid you. This may be the final great battle with the wild beasts. If you win, you'll enjoy peace for countless years to come. 4175, 4175. Chapter 4175, The Soul-Devouring Spirit Emperor. Candle Dragon used the rules to open a passage for the Tao Lords, allowing them all to come through. Soon, 1,000 Tao Lords arrived, with several Eternals directing their defensive arrangements. According to Candle Dragon, the great battle would erupt within days at any moment. Although Candle Dragon was fully aware that the world itself would not be in danger, and if they couldn't hold out, he could intervene. Such intervention was a last resort. The best outcome was for him not to act, to avoid triggering a backlash from the rules. The struggle between Tao wild beasts and cultivators was dictated by the rules. If he intervened, he would be breaking them. He couldn't be both judge and participant. Candle Dragon understood cause and effect. The situation had evolved as it had partly because of his own actions, and the other half was due to Lin Moyu. Now, with the great battle approaching, Candle Dragon didn't want to act. Lin Moyu was absent, and others would have to fight and sacrifice. This was hard to justify. Thus, new karma was created, again and again, endlessly. Candle Dragon could do nothing about this, wishing only to complete his transcendence soon and sever all karma with this world, gaining true freedom. 5 days later, the Tao cloud began to boil. In the distance, countless black dots appeared, sweeping in like a dark cloud. The Ungduan Mountains, formations activated, towers shone, and the power of the stars gathered. Lin Moyu, unaware of events within the world, was still sweeping through the soul-devouring spirits, searching for the soul-devouring spirit kings. These kings were rare. He found one only every few dozen days. Killing them wasn't difficult. His methods were effective, easily wounding them and finishing the job in a few moves. After 200 days outside the world, Lin Moyu had slain 5 soul-devouring spirit kings, collecting 3 portions of essence and fulfilling his agreement with Candle Dragon. He didn't stop, continuing his search for more, needing their essence for research. On the 300th day, he had 2 more portions of essence. Why do I feel vaguely uneasy? Lin Moyu frowned, searching for the source of his unease. He glanced down at the world, but the 5 worlds domain was wrapped in a barrier like frosted glass, filled with its own rules, blocking his vision. Could something have happened inside the world? He wondered. The Tao wild beasts have already been beaten back. The soulless beast has purified so many pools. The beasts' power is greatly reduced, their numbers dwindling. What threat could they pose? Only the mutated beasts could be dangerous, but reviving them isn't easy. The beast emperors paid a great price to revive one before, and the other 8 were normal, no anomalies. In less than a year, there shouldn't have been any big changes. Yet his sense of unease, which had never failed him before, grew stronger. A thought arose, maybe I should go back. The more he thought about it, the stronger the urge became, as if a voice was urging him, and the unease intensified. Go back, Lin Moyu decided, trusting his instincts as always. He was already a great distance from where he'd started, flying back would take days. So he prepared to open a direct passage to the origin land. This was the convenience of being an eternal. No matter how far, he could open a path home at any time. He willed a connection to the origin land, the rules began to stir, and a passage opened before him. As he was about to step in, he suddenly stopped. The moment the portal appeared, his unease multiplied exponentially. The portal felt like a dangerous abyss. Entering it would mean falling into endless torment. His heart raced, his hair stood on end. Trusting his instincts, he didn't enter. Instead, he backed away, eyes fixed on the portal. What's going on? That sense of danger came out of nowhere. It seemed like a whim, but now it feels truly strange. It's as if some force is affecting my Tao heart, creating false thoughts. If that's the case, then the portal I opened doesn't lead to the origin land at all, and what I'm sensing isn't the origin land. To affect the Tao heart and create illusions, soul-devouring spirit emperor. Lin Moyu was shocked. He realized he had encountered the soul-devouring spirit emperor. Candle Dragon had warned him. The soul-devouring spirit emperor was extremely dangerous. If encountered, he should escape immediately, though he might not even get the chance. But Candle Dragon never said what the danger was, or how the emperor appeared. Now, Lin Moyu realized, Candle Dragon didn't know either. At first, Lin Moyu hadn't worried he'd met a soul-devouring spirit emperor from another world and even fought him. While powerful, he wasn't unstoppable. But now he saw, every soul-devouring spirit emperor was different. Lin Moyu slowly retreated, taking out the scale Candle Dragon had given him, which still pointed the way. He followed it, heading back to his entry point, aiming to return to the world. Suddenly, countless space portals appeared in the void, tens of thousands of entrances densely layered. Each one radiated the aura of the origin land, as if they all led home. But Lin Moyu saw that every one led to hell. If he'd only suspected before, now he was certain, he'd encountered the soul-devouring spirit emperor. Unlike the soul-devouring spirit kings, the emperor didn't just read memories, but could create illusions based on them. He could directly influence the Tao heart, making one believe false actions were correct, far more terrifying than ordinary illusions. If not for his acute senses, if he'd stepped through any of those portals, who knows what would have happened. Something's happened at the Ungduan Mountains, hurry back. The thought flashed through his mind, and Lin Moyu seemed to see endless wild beasts attacking the Ungduan Mountains, the formations shattered, the Eternals gravely wounded, unable to hold out. He realized these were thoughts from his subconscious. He'd once considered such a possibility. The soul-devouring spirit emperor had magnified them, presenting them as reality. Lin Moyu instinctively knew it was false, but it felt so real. The soul-devouring spirit emperor had surpassed mere illusion, affecting the Tao heart and soul to show seemingly real scenes. Lin Moyu held firm to his Tao heart, slipped away through a gap, and refused to engage with the soul-devouring spirit emperor. The enemy was hidden, he was exposed. Avoiding confrontation was the best choice. 4176, 4176. Chapter 4176, Not a single one is real. Lin Moyu ignored all distractions and continued moving in the direction indicated by the dragon scale. With the wings of time curse unfurled, his speed reached its peak, leaving a long trail of light in the void beyond the domain. Suddenly, Lin Moyu stopped again. He saw Candle Dragon, or rather, Candle Dragon's eyes. The enormous eyes hovered in the void. The Ungduan Mountains are under attack by the wild beasts, we're under immense pressure, we can't hold on much longer, hurry back. Lin Moyu frowned. Get lost. He felt these eyes weren't real, but an illusion created by the soul-devouring spirit emperor. Candle Dragon had said he couldn't leave the domain, and this place wasn't where Candle Dragon could possibly appear. Besides, if it were truly urgent, Candle Dragon wouldn't be helpless. Wild beasts were nothing to him. No matter how strong the soul-devouring spirit emperor was, there must be a flaw. Candle Dragon's eyes narrowed and abruptly looked into the distance, shrieking, "Soul-devouring spirit emperor, you've actually encountered the soul-devouring spirit. I'll hold it off for you, hurry and go." There was urgency in Candle Dragon's eyes. Twin beams of light shot out, turning into countless arrows that pierced the void. The radiance exploded, enveloping millions of miles of void, and a gigantic beast revealed itself within the light. Soul-devouring spirit emperor Lin Moyu saw its form, and his heart skipped a beat. This scene seemed to be telling him that Candle Dragon was real. He had really come here, really urged Lin Moyu to return, and had even discovered the soul-devouring spirit emperor and was attacking it. In his perception, Candle Dragon was real, the attack was real, and the soul-devouring spirit emperor being forced to reveal itself was also real. The line between truth and illusion was impossible to discern. Yet, the more convincing it seemed, the less Lin Moyu trusted it. He chose to trust the dragon scale Candle Dragon had given him. At that moment, the soul-devouring spirit emperor let out a shriek, a sound like a blade slicing through the soul. Instantly, countless beast emperors appeared in the void, all staring intently at Candle Dragon. The next second, the beast emperors charged at Candle Dragon, forcing him to reveal himself in the void and engage in a fierce battle with the wild beasts. "Rule Manager, you shouldn't be here." The soul-devouring spirit emperor's voice echoed, shaking the void and making Lin Moyu's soul tremble. Everything happening before him seemed to say Candle Dragon was real. Candle Dragon roared, flames erupting from his body, burning the beast emperors to death. At the same time, his tail swept out, forcibly slicing open a rift in the void. "I've opened a spatial channel, hurry back," he urged Lin Moyu, and at the same time, a voice echoed in Lin Moyu's soul, urging him to enter the rift and return to the domain. The wings of Time Curse vibrated, and Lin Moyu flew toward the spatial rift, appearing to believe Candle Dragon's words. But just before reaching the rift, he suddenly changed direction, flying past it and farther away, vanishing into the void. The battle continued behind him, undiminished by his departure. Lin Moyu could still feel the shockwaves from afar, but he did not stop. He could not distinguish truth from illusion, neither his Tao heart, his eyes, nor his soul's eye could see clearly. Unable to discern reality, he chose the most conservative route, to return the same way he came. The soul-devouring spirit emperor was too strange. Lin Moyu couldn't even be sure that what he had just seen was its true form. He had never encountered such a bizarre enemy before. The dragon scale in his hand glowed, guiding him, but as he flew, Lin Moyu sensed something was wrong and stopped again. He felt he was getting farther from the origin land, moving away from the domain. Yet the direction indicated by the scale seemed fine. Looking down, he realized he hadn't actually left the domain. Lin Moyu felt his senses were being manipulated again. With no other option, he chose to trust the dragon scale and continued forward. After flying a while, unease grew within him. He felt he was again moving farther from the origin land. If this continued, he might enter chaos and be unable to return. Chaos. Lin Moyu didn't see chaos. The domain was clearly beneath his feet, its boundaries obvious, and he could sense its rules. But his intuition screamed warnings, the unease intensifying. Which should he trust? Lin Moyu was torn. The soul-devouring spirit emperor's strangeness had directly affected his Tao heart and intuition, making it impossible to tell what was real. He realized this choice was critical. One wrong step and he might be lost forever. This was the most dangerous situation he had ever faced in his cultivation. As he pondered, a sudden thought struck him: both are fake. He was startled. If both were fake, then no matter which he chose, the result would be the same. In that instant, his mind raced, and he thought of a possible way to break the deadlock. Gather power. He unleashed his technique, surging with boundless chaotic energy. His undead servants and the great thousand world poured terrifying power into him, pushing his cultivation to new heights. Here, outside the domain, he could break through to half-step transcendence, truly stepping into the transcendent realm. He wouldn't be expelled, so there was no need to worry. A strange aura rose, and Lin Moyu used his technique to force himself into the transcendent realm. Once there, his gaze swept like lightning. Everything before him looked the same as before, yet there was a subtle difference. He vaguely saw something hidden in the void. Great Tao world-ending palm. He struck out, a giant palm crashing through the void. As he unleashed it, his body and soul exploded simultaneously. Bathed in purple light, Lin Moyu was reborn. After his rebirth, everything before him changed. The void ahead had become chaos. The domain was now far, far away. The direction indicated by the dragon scale was completely opposite to where he had been heading. From his current position, if he continued forward, he would enter true chaos. Chaos was truly outside the domain, beyond the reach of its rules, a clear boundary. If he had really charged into chaos, it would be almost impossible to return, and the beings within would not let him go easily. The thing he had seen was a being hidden in chaos. The world-ending palm stirred ripples in chaos, colliding with the being. The palm shattered with a thunderous boom, and the creature was blasted away but not killed. It seemed to scream, but the sound could not reach him. The domain's rules blocked everything from chaos. To survive his full-strength attack, that chaotic being was indeed powerful. With his rebirth, Lin Moyu finally broke free from the soul-devouring Spirit Emperor's influence, if only briefly. His final suspicion was correct, both were fake. No matter which direction he chose, the outcome would have been disastrous. There was no such thing as real or fake, everything was false. Lin Moyu recognized the true direction indicated by the dragon scale, vibrated the wings of time curse, and sped away. After a while, his body exploded again, and he was reborn in purple light. In this way, he dispelled the soul-devouring Spirit Emperor's influence. 4177, 4177. Chapter 4177, Shared Responsibility. Lin Moyu kept self-destructing along the way. Each rebirth removed the effects of the soul-devourer Spirit Emperor, keeping his Tao heart clear. With every new life, as he observed the shifting world and noticed subtle changes in his own Tao heart, Lin Moyu gradually uncovered a few clues. Although the soul-devourer Spirit Emperor's abilities were strange and terrifying, they were not completely imperceptible. There were traces if one looked carefully. More importantly, the influence of the soul-devourer Spirit Emperor did not take hold all at once, it developed from weak to strong. The longer the exposure, the greater the influence, until it became impossible to separate truth from illusion. At first, things might be part real and part false, but once the Tao heart and soul were clouded, everything perceived would turn false. Rebirth allowed the soul to reorganize, removing the soul-devourer Spirit Emperor's effects. As long as Lin Moyu self-destructed regularly, that power could not threaten him. He sped toward his starting point, getting closer and closer. The soul-devourer Spirit Emperor should be unable to sit still now, Lin Moyu thought. Up until this point, he had never actually seen the soul-devourer Spirit Emperor. If the Emperor didn't want Lin Moyu to return to the domain, he should have intervened by now. But strangely, even upon reaching the exit, the soul-devourer Spirit Emperor did not appear. Lin Moyu felt something wasn't right but couldn't find any evidence. After 2 days flying, he finally reached the entrance, one step from returning to the domain. Still no sign of the soul-devourer Spirit Emperor, making the situation feel even more bizarre. Had the Emperor given up the hunt? That seemed unlikely and didn't match what Lin Moyu knew. Yet his intuition told him everything was normal, and after his latest rebirth, he confirmed his surroundings were real. What is the soul-devourer Spirit Emperor really up to? Lin Moyu wondered. He was uncertain but unwilling to face the Emperor directly just yet. He stepped into the passage and returned to the domain. The transmission ended quickly and Lin Moyu was home, feeling the familiar aura wash over him. Beneath him stood Candle Dragon's statue, with pure filth power still surging within it. Beside the statue, Candle Dragon slowly raised his head. "You're finally back," he said. Lin Moyu exhaled in relief. "You stayed here the whole time?" Candle Dragon responded, "I went out a few times to take care of some things." "Did you go outside the domain?" Lin Moyu probed. Candle Dragon's gaze grew odd. "Why would I ever leave?" He'd said before he would never venture to outer domains. With Candle Dragon's confirmation, Lin Moyu laughed, so it was all fake. Bang! Speaking, Lin Moyu self-destructed again and was reborn in violet light. Nothing around him changed, confirming he truly was home and not stuck in an illusion. Candle Dragon looked at him oddly. "Why self-destruct for no reason?" Lin Moyu sighed, "I have no choice. The soul-devourer Spirit Emperor's illusions were too real, I couldn't tell real from fake, so this is my only method." Candle Dragon's expression changed drastically. "You ran into the soul-devourer Spirit Emperor?" "Yes," Lin Moyu said. "Wow, to meet the soul-devourer Spirit Emperor and still make it back impressive." Candle Dragon replied. Lin Moyu gave Candle Dragon a strange look. "You seem almost afraid of the soul-devourer Spirit Emperor." Candle Dragon shook his head. "Not afraid, I just don't like dealing with that type. But enough of that, did you bring the items?" Lin Moyu produced 3 portions of the soul-devourer Spirit Emperor's essence, handing them to Candle Dragon. "Here." Candle Dragon's eyes narrowed with excitement, his body trembled, barely suppressed. After countless ages of longing about to be fulfilled, how could he not be excited? He quickly put away the 3 essences and bowed his head to Lin Moyu in sincere thanks. Lin Moyu pressed for details. "Tell me everything about the soul-devourer Emperor." Just as Candle Dragon began to speak, the statue quivered and the Tao cloud above boiled. Lin Moyu looked far off, Something's happening at the Ungduan Mountains. He sensed all his defensive formations had activated and were under attack. Could some of the illusions crafted by the Soul Devourer Spirit Emperor actually be real? It was possible, and if the Soul Devourer Spirit King could harness some domain rules, the Emperor certainly could, too. Candle Dragon explained, yes, the wild beasts are on the move, attacking the Ungduan Mountains. But there's no need to worry. I've gathered all the Eternals and Tao Lords there, and with your formations in place, they'll hold. Lin Moyu nodded. What instigated all this? Candle Dragon began to recount. This time, both of us bear responsibility. He explained. Things started with himself by refining filth power. He altered the natural formation of the filth pools and created 9 special filth pools, which then gave rise to 9 mutant wild beasts. He also enhanced the wild beast emperor's intelligence, enabling them to use the mutants intelligently. However, using the mutants was extremely difficult. The wild beast emperors tried every method and succeeded with only one, and only at great cost. That was Candle Dragon's responsibility. The other half was Lin Moyu's doing. He created the soulless beast, capable of purifying wild beasts and filth pools, eradicating wild beasts at the source. But this also caused a problem. After a pool was purified, the total amount of Dao sludge did not decrease. With fewer pools, more Dao filth flowed toward the remaining ones. As the remaining pools received greater concentrations of sludge, so too did the king pools and especially the 9 special pools. The wild beast emperors, though frightened by Lin Moyu, refused to give up. They began manipulating the soulless beast to purify pools and used the resulting higher concentrations of Dao filth to control and activate more mutant wild beasts. They succeeded. After expending some cost, the 9 beast emperors managed to create 4 mutant wild beasts. With so much Dao sludge now fueling them, many Dao wild beasts evolved into wild beast kings. There were now tens of thousands of wild beast kings, 5 standard beast emperors, and 4 mutant beast emperors, collectively far stronger than before. The soulless beast was unaware of this. It kept purifying pools. According to Candle Dragon, if things went on, the 5 remaining beast emperors would soon also become mutant wild beasts, for a total of 9, and when that happened, the Ungduan Mountains would be in real danger. So, that half of the responsibility fell to Lin Moyu. Lin Moyu hadn't expected his own soulless beast to be turned against him. It was almost absurd. Candle Dragon wrapped up. Now that you're back, it's time to end the wild beasts for good. Anyway, I'm about to transcend. Whether they exist or not no longer matters. Lin Moyu agreed. All right, I'll finish off every last wild beast. Candle Dragon replied, then let me send you over. Just as he spoke, both Candle Dragon and Lin Moyu changed expressions, looking off into the distance. Candle Dragon peered across limitless space, past the outer battlefield. Not good, they're making a move on the origin ancestral land. Quickly, we must get back. 4178. 4178. Chapter 4178. What you can do when the rules are disrupted. There was a hint of shock in Candle Dragon's eyes. Very few things in this world could truly surprise him. Perhaps it was because Candle Dragon was about to transcend, and his inner excitement made him lose control of his emotions for a moment. Lin Moyu asked, what happened? Candle Dragon replied, let's walk and talk. He used the rules to open a passage directly within the Dao cloud, traveling with Lin Moyu toward the origin ancestral land. On the way, he explained, those guys actually traveled upstream through the underground currents, sneaking across the Ungduan Mountains, passing the outer battlefield, bypassing the formations, and appearing outside the origin ancestral land. Lin Moyu was amazed. How did they manage that? Both the Ungduan Mountains and the outer battlefield had formations extending to the underground foul currents. It shouldn't have been possible to sneak through. Candle Dragon said, it must have been the mutated wild beasts. They tunneled through the underground source mountains, opening up a new path and evading the formations. Lin Moyu joked, looks like we need to reassign responsibility. At least 70% of the blame is yours. After all, the wild beast's intelligence came from Candle Dragon. Candle Dragon didn't mind, saying, 70%, so be it. Doesn't matter anymore. As they passed the Ungduan Mountains, Candle Dragon considered moving all the Eternals and heavenly beings to the origin ancestral land. But Lin Moyu thought it unnecessary, since with himself there, everyone else was unimportant. In fact, he was a little selfish. He wanted all the fate of heaven and earth for himself. The more fate one possesses, the better, whether for the final step or something else. Lin Moyu's goal included becoming a domain lord, and the fate of heaven and earth might be crucial for that. Using the rules of the world, Candle Dragon returned to the origin ancestral land in an instant. Between the origin ancestral land and the outer battlefield, there was a thin membrane. The wild beasts were attacking it, and under the blows from the mutated wild beasts, that membrane would soon shatter. "We're just in time," Candle Dragon said. In truth, he didn't care whether the wild beasts destroyed the origin ancestral land, even if some Dao were damaged, it meant little to him. But he knew it mattered a lot to Lin Moyu. He wanted to become domain lord and didn't want the Dao to be excessively damaged. "I'll take care of it," Lin Moyu said quietly, sending an army of undead servants down from the Dao cloud, charging straight at the Dao wild beasts. The number of Dao wild beasts was staggering. Billions of ordinary beasts, tens of thousands of beast kings, 5 beast emperors, and 4 mutated wild beasts. Purely by brute force, the Dao wild beasts could easily crush the cultivators. If not for formations, the cultivators would have been defeated long ago. But Lin Moyu now led the charge. The undead army tore through the Dao wild beasts, mowing them down like wheat. Lin Moyu himself descended from the Dao cloud, his aura heightened to half-step transcendence. World-ending palm of the Dao. His hands moved like shadows, palms sweeping across heaven and earth. All the frustration from dealing with the soul-devouring spirit emperor earlier was unleashed now. It didn't matter if it was a beast emperor or mutated wild beast. Lin Moyu suppressed them all. The 4 mutated wild beasts joined forces to resist the Dao world-ending palm and charged at Lin Moyu. Their power surpassed ordinary Eternals and had reached the limit of the Dao Lord realm, but they were still a step short of half-step transcendence. And at that level, numbers no longer made up for the gap. Under Lin Moyu's furious assault, they were knocked out of the sky before they could even get close, crashing to the ground and losing any chance at retaliation. Palm after palm struck the earth, flattening it, and the aftershocks swept across the land. Countless wild beasts died in screams, and even the beast emperors couldn't withstand the blast. Even without the undead army, the beasts couldn't endure Lin Moyu's attacks. Just the shockwaves reduced them to nothing. A gap in realm could not be bridged with numbers. The ground sunk, turning the once flat land into a basin. Source mountains collapsed, and the barrier between the outer battlefield and the origin ancestral land was shattered by the aftershocks. After this battle, the barrier was no longer needed. Though most wild beasts could still revive, Lin Moyu did not intend to give them that chance. He wanted to change the landscape of the domain and win it a long period of peace. In his eyes, the Dao wild beasts were a sign that the world and domain themselves were imperfect. So, he would let this imperfection show itself completely, and then repair it. Candle Dragon was about to transcend, and then the world's rules would be without a manager. He wondered if the world would choose a new manager, whether from among existing living beings or by birthing another. But that didn't matter. What mattered was that Lin Moyu knew the rules would shift dramatically at that time, bringing a rare opportunity. Only during such times of great change in heaven and earth could many things become possible. Palm after palm struck. Lin Moyu showed no mercy, slaughtering the wild beasts to the last. Streaks of light arrived from afar. It was the Dao Lords and Eternals, attracted by the upheaval. But they stopped a distance away, unable to approach Lin Moyu's earth-shaking, transcendent power, watching from afar, all in shock. The Eternals, especially, knew exactly the level Lin Moyu had now reached. To speak bluntly, just one person could kill all of them. After a while, Lin Moyu finally stopped. He had to, or the rules of the domain would expel him. Half-step transcendence was already past the limit of what the world could accommodate, though with Candle Dragon's help he could linger a bit longer. But even then, there were limits now. After venting, Lin Moyu had reached that limit. The once flat earth was now a basin, a giant pit tens of thousands of meters deep. All the Dao wild beasts were utterly annihilated. Even the mutated ones had died a short while before. Looking at the 1,000 or so Dao Lords and all the Eternals who had just arrived, Lin Moyu grinned. The wings of time and curse unfurled with a loud swoosh, stirring time and creating spatial chaos. Lin Moyu's speed soared, and he shot toward the great wilderness almost like teleporting. Old Yin Head called out, "Quick, follow him." The human emperor didn't wait to be told. He followed, muttering, "Taoist Lin is cleansing everything." Old Yin Head said, "After this, the problem of the Dao wild beasts might be resolved, and the world's rules will likely change." The Lord of Power said, "As long as the Dao remains, the wild beasts will never be truly extinct." And Yuyan said, "Taoist Lin surely understands this. But at least, we won't have trouble from the Dao wild beasts for a long time." The oldest and longest-lived Fate Lord said nothing, unconcerned about the wild beasts. However, an unusual aura radiated from him, distinguishable from the other Eternals. Only Lin Moyu and Candle Dragon could see that the Fate Lord was already on the path to transcendence, having taken his first steps. As long as he continued, he too would transcend. And once transcended, the affairs of the world would no longer be his concern. 4179, 4179. Chapter 4179, The Breaking of the Wild Beast Scheme. Lin Moyu surged into the great wilderness, where wild beasts recently resurrected emerged from the filth pools. Most of the ordinary wild beasts, lacking intelligence and understanding of fear, charged straight at Lin Moyu, with predictable results. Wherever Lin Moyu passed, the great Dao wild beasts perished. His army of undead servants transformed into a dragon-like formation and charged into the pools, destroying the bodies of the wild beasts within and completely cutting off the beasts' chance of revival. Simultaneously, Lin Moyu mentally summoned the soulless beast to purify the filth pools. As the soulless beast's creator and wielder of secret arts, Lin Moyu could control it at will. The soulless beast immediately followed the undead legion to cleanse the pools. Lin Moyu drove deeper into the heart of the great wilderness, entering the range of the royal pools. The newly resurrected beast emperors, upon seeing Lin Moyu, were terrified and fled. Unlike the mindless beasts, the intelligent beast emperors feared death, making their escapes less frequent but potentially final this time. Using the Wings of Time curse, Lin Moyu seemed to teleport, catching up to the fleeing beast emperors. His aura surged again, stepping into half-step transcendence. He unleashed the great Dao world-ending palm. The fleeing beast emperors could do nothing but scream in agony as the devastating strike crushed their bodies, killing them again immediately after resurrection. At this moment, new beast emperors' physical forms had yet to develop within the royal pools. Their souls had nowhere to go after death, merging into essence under the rules of the realm. Only then were the beast emperors truly dead, although over time new ones might be reborn if the pool persisted. Lin Moyu, naturally, would not allow this. After the soulless beast finished purifying the other pools, it would cleanse the royal pools as well. The soulless beast's power had grown significantly, speeding up its purification process such that cleaning the royal pools was no challenge. Without pausing, Lin Moyu continued his slaughter. The beast emperors had no place to flee and were all hunted down and killed by him. His path led toward the special filth pool area. Following close behind were several Eternals and over 1,000 great Dao lords, watching Lin Moyu's rampage with mixed amazement and admiration. They had guarded these lands for countless years, battling the great Dao wild beasts endlessly and investing immense effort, only to see Lin Moyu clear them out so effortlessly. At that moment, none could find words to express their feelings, but regardless, it was unquestionably a good outcome. Returning to the special filth pools 9 in total, personally arranged by the Candle Dragon, Lin Moyu observed that these pools gathered filth power and nurtured mutated wild beasts. These special pools were stronger than the royal pools, and the mutated beasts stronger than the beast emperors, otherwise, the pools could only nurture one mutated beast's physical form at a time. Previously, Lin Moyu had thoroughly exterminated several mutated wild beasts, and with all beast emperors now slain, no one could control the mutated beasts' bodies. Lin Moyu's gaze darkened as he mentally contacted Candle Dragon. What do you intend to do with these special pools? Handle it as you see fit. Candle Dragon's tone was indifferent. Having completed the filth power collection, transcendence was the next step for him. The wild beasts had lost their utility, and these special pools meant little to him now. Lin Moyu replied, if that's the case, then I won't hold back. Suit yourself, Candle Dragon responded. Lin Moyu chuckled softly and flicked his finger. Divine runes flew out, some landing on the earth, others floating in the void, weaving into a massive net. He erected an array, drawing a boundary and enveloping the space. The special filth pool zone became his domain, forbidding outsiders to enter. The array wasn't very powerful, any great Dao Lord could force their way through, but since the one deploying it was Lin Moyu, who would dare break in? From afar, the onlookers silently acknowledged Lin Moyu's actions, not daring to question his purpose. His sheer dominance deterred all objections. Moreover, this was the core of the great wilderness, the deepest interior. Without Lin Moyu's favor, none would ever gain access here. What happened here and what Lin Moyu did were none of their concern. After completing the array, Lin Moyu proclaimed loudly, the wild beast scheme is broken. Though the essence is not destroyed, there will be no wild beast disaster for at least 1,000,000 years. The rules of the world are about to change. You need not stay in the origin land daily and may temporarily gain freedom. As his words fell, the world echoed with rumbling sounds, responding subtly to Lin Moyu, an unmistakable sign of Candle Dragon's support. Changes to the world's rules do not happen overnight, so the rapid response was clearly Candle Dragon's doing, using his privileges to speed up the transformations. The alteration of rules quickly reached cultivators everywhere. Their souls received the world's message, and each wore a joyful expression. The rules have truly changed. We may now come and go freely. Indeed, no need to linger so long in the origin land. Freedom is finally ours. Having cultivated to this level, I thought I'd gain great liberation, only to find half my time trapped here. Now I am free. Friends, I will depart first and hope to meet again someday. Until we meet again. One by one, the great Tao Lords left amidst chatter, their subconscious yearning for freedom a desire part of their pursuit. But the rules of the world constrained them. There was little choice. Now finally free, they wore joy on their faces, their Tao hearts enlightened. Not long after, most great Tao Lords had gone, leaving a few who wished to observe Lin Moyu's handling of the wild beasts. Several Eternals remained, curious about Lin Moyu's next actions. In the distance, the soulless beast diligently purified filth pools. With each purified pool, great world fortune descended. Most fell to Lin Moyu, with a small portion distributed to the Eternals and great Tao Lords. Previously, during the wars with the wild beasts, they had slain many and naturally gained some fortune. The world, to an extent, is fair. It gives to everyone according to merit. They sensed Lin Moyu's immense fortune, far greater than their own, and felt some envy, but only envy, no jealousy. It was what he deserved, and with his strength, even if they tried to compete, they dared not. Lin Moyu sat cross-legged in the void, quietly waiting for the soulless beast. Candle Dragon's whereabouts were unknown. With the wild beast scheme settled, he moved on to his own affairs. Having prepared for countless years, Candle Dragon was about to make the formal attempt at transcendence. Transcendence was perilous. Failure meant death and dissolution. As the first life born of the realm and designated as rule keeper, Candle Dragon's status was high but with heavy constraints. His inner yearning for transcendence was intense. This was his only chance, and he would commit fully. May you succeed. 4180. 4180. Chapter 4180, Candle Dragon will transcend. Among the 108 naturally formed filth pools of heaven and earth, the soulless beast had already purified 99, leaving only the last 9, royal pools. The purification of the royal pools was clearly much slower, as centers where Tao filth accumulated, they were not so easily cleansed. Lin Moyu was not in a hurry. The soulless beast's purification might be slow, but as long as it could be done, it was enough. Slow and steady did the trick. Once he confirmed that the soulless beast could purify the royal pools, Lin Moyu moved on, surveying the great wilderness. He had crossed the great wilderness countless times with his undead servants, but never truly measured it himself. The situation with the wild beasts was temporarily resolved, but as long as Tao filth continued to accumulate, things like the wild beasts would eventually re-emerge. Blocking the filth wasn't as good as redirecting it. If one tried to forcibly block the Tao filth, when the accumulation reached a certain point, even worse things might happen. Therefore, he needed a way to channel the excess Tao filth elsewhere, putting it to use. Only then could the wild beast problem be truly and thoroughly resolved. Candle Dragon's previous array arrangements had given Lin Moyu some inspiration. He intended to use the Tao filth to construct an array that would cover the entire great wilderness. In the great wilderness, some filth flowed underground as dark currents, while some surged above ground as mighty rivers. Within these filth rivers appeared all kinds of strange creatures similar to but not the same as Tao wild beasts, more savage and primitive, yet universally powerful and not inferior to the wild beasts. The same Tao filth could give rise to different living beings. This was one of the wonders of heaven and earth, and a mystery Lin Moyu was always keen to study. Even within the great thousand world, life could arise. But Lin Moyu's understanding was shallow. He knew that things happened, but not why. As the pools were purified, the Tao filth, having nowhere else to go, accumulated massively throughout the great wilderness. Both in underground rivers and surface flows, filth increased dramatically, and so did the strength and numbers of the beings that emerged from it. If Tao filth continued to have no outlet, in a few thousand years such beings could grow powerful enough to rival the wild beasts themselves. In tens of thousands of years, new natural arrays would form, recreating environments like those of the old filth pools. As long as the root of the Tao filth was not resolved, even the end of the wild beasts would only mean the rise of something similar. Based on the principle that redirection is better than blockage, Lin Moyu set about surveying the great wilderness to lay down a super array that would harness this Tao filth. If Candle Dragon could gather filth for himself, so could Lin Moyu. But his ambitions were greater, not only seeking transcendence, but also aspiring to become a domain lord. From what he understood, even the chaos world was far from peaceful. There were still endless struggles and a law of strength. Even among the transcended, there were levels of power. Becoming domain lord made one the master of an entire domain and its countless living beings. Even the sovereigns of heaven and earth would not casually provoke a domain lord, as that meant endless consequences. Moreover, Lin Moyu sensed that the secrets of life and death were tied to this. Bodies were easy to create, but souls were elusive. Even the soul Tao did not reveal their true origin. Becoming domain lord might offer the chance to unravel these mysteries, which could only be of great benefit. Continuing his survey, Lin Moyu's map of the great wilderness became even more detailed than the ones his undead servants had produced, especially concerning the twists and turns of the underground filth currents. Sensing alone was insufficient, he deployed vast numbers of undead servants to traverse every hidden path. After half a year, he had mastered the entire layout. A complex grand array gradually took shape in his mind, vastly larger and stronger than any array he had ever constructed. Since Tao filth was now akin to the power of eternity, harnessing it required formidable arrays. Ordinary ones would corrode quickly and collapse. Lin Moyu had to improve many divine runes, making them strong enough to withstand constant erosion over the years. Now, within the domain, only Candle Dragon and Lin Moyu could achieve this. Candle Dragon's arrays always imitated natural formations, closely aligned with the laws of heaven and earth. Lin Moyu's, on the other hand, bore a distinctive personal mark, different but not inferior. Imitating natural arrays, in his view, was always limited by the natural standard, making true transcendence difficult. He sought to surpass not only natural arrays but the very heavens. He would borrow their strengths but not blindly copy. Strong arrays appeared throughout the great wilderness, leading from underground to the surface and even into the sky. The arrays acted as deep wells, channeling away the filth trapped below, so it no longer cooled and stagnated. The extracted Tao filth was then funneled into another array system for further refinement and purification, a process similar to Candle Dragon's, but Lin Moyu took it further, creating a purer, stronger filth power imbued with his own powerful will. No one else could use this power. This was a long process. Constructing the grand array and refining filth power occupied him for nearly 100 years before he finally harvested even a trace of it. Refinement was unimaginably slow. Candle Dragon had needed countless years to gather enough for himself. In the process, Lin Moyu also reaped a vast amount of heaven and earth fortune. Each time the soulless beast purified a royal pool, Lin Moyu received a massive surge of fortune, more from one pool than the total of the previous 99 king-level pools combined. He now had more fortune than anyone by far, making him confident in his next moves. 200 years later, the great wilderness suddenly shook. Then the entire origin ancestral land quaked as well. Candle Dragon is about to transcend.